Oh, can you hear us now?
Yes.
That was muted. Okay, we're gonna go back. This is our first training ever. Okay, thank you for letting us know. Go back to the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, they're there. Okay.
Yeah.
It's real. I find it hard to.
Do you want me to click this?
Yeah. Like that. Yeah. Sounds good. So welcome everybody. We have Shedrick, Nina, Renat, Sonia, and us today. We're presenting to an empty room, so it's a bit awkward. This is not your standard Zoom. Anyways, Sonia is new, so welcome, Sonia.
Thank
Today
you.
we're gonna learn about lead gen. I know those of you who coach with me, we do a lot of lead gen and talk a lot about lead gen. And then in this portion of Ignite, this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to break it down into 4 parts. You know, we're the real estate expert, lead generation, the lead follow-up, and then the transaction. With lead gen, we must find people to work with. You know, we're not out there, we're not doing things if we don't know anybody. How do we get business? So we're going to explore the who, what, when, why, where, and how of lead gen today. There we go. So we're going to look at the 6 core competencies of business. So lead generation, capture and convert to appointments. We're going to present to buyers and sellers to get an agreement. We're going to show buyers and market the sellers' properties. We're going to write, negotiate contracts, coordinate the sale of closing, and then manage the money. Lead generation is our number 1 job. You know, it fuels our business. It helps us reach the goals that we've set for ourselves. The more leads that we have, the more business and the more success that we'll have. This includes talking to people about buying and selling real estate daily, all of the things that, capturing that accurate contact information, name, phone number, email, home address. It's really hard to get home address sometimes, unless you're door knocking, but, email and phone number and name are the key, the top ones that we want, but we want to get as much as we can. We want to convert these leads to appointments. So when you find, active buyers and sellers, and we're going to set the appointments and agree to work together buying and selling real estate. So in the next little bit, we're going to learn a variety of methods to gain leads. Session. So I know we all have, this is going to be a bit more interactive, so I'm going to probably get you to come off mute here on here. We all have fears and myths of lead gen. So, right now, what's everyone's fear? Does anyone have a fear around lead gen or, a challenge? Maybe I'll start with Shedrick.
For me, my challenge is basically just asking for emails, I guess. Yeah, that's my biggest challenge, just asking for emails and knowing like what questions to ask when I'm on those.
Right. Well, not knowing what to say or how to, what can be effective to get that information. Nina, what would be your challenge?
Hi, sorry.
Okay.
I mean, I find it hard to ask someone for their email information because I personally don't like giving that out and I don't like getting those emails. So it's tough for me to do something that I wouldn't want myself,
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Renat?
Hi. I personally find it hard overall to start that conversation around real estate because I'm very new and like, how do I kick it off? How do I start that conversation? And how do I mean, how do I even think that they could be a lead? Like, identify those conversation starters that could generate that.
Answer? Yeah, absolutely. Who else happened there? Sonia. Sonia, I know you're just new, but you're starting out and you know what kind of lead generation, if you're just kind of getting your feet wet, but what would be something maybe you think would be a challenge?
I think the fear of rejection, like asking someone and then them saying no, but it probably wouldn't even happen, but you just have that fear anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good. Anybody else? Okay.
No, I think that's all.
That's it, yeah. So, lead generation is, people think that it's really difficult, but what we want to do and what Gary says, we need to shift our way of thinking. How do we know that that person doesn't really need a good agent to help them? There's a lot of, in every industry, there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad. And, we know that you guys are going to be very well-trained agents and going out there and servicing these people. There's numerous times that I've been out in the field and thought, oh my gosh, working with another agent and thinking I really feel bad for the seller or the buyer that's on the other side because their agent really isn't doing a good service to them. And you having that mind shift of, what, I'm helping people, coming from a mindset, like Chad said, of service and helping, not as in that mindset of money or I'm just want to get you. Hey, Matt. Hey. We're all on Zoom.
It's just you. And I'll
Matt just joined us.
It's so weird. I almost failed and said something to Zoom.
You would have joined everybody else. Today's a Friday Zoom, I guess. So we're just on yeah. So those are the myths. So we go to I think lead generation is really difficult. It was confused with effort versus enjoyment. Lead generation can actually be fun. I know some of you might have done open houses. How much fun was it when you had that open house and you talked to that first client and they actually were interested in what you had to say and wanted to be part of that process?
And there's so many different types of lead gen that you don't need to do all of them, and you should find the ones that you do actually enjoy, and it won't feel difficult if you actually enjoy what you're doing.
Exactly. Time.
What's my book? Can I have it in the copy?
That one's, I think, just a that one. Yeah.
We're talking about, I don't have any time to lead gen. So some of us have dual careers and some of us have kids. Some of us have maybe elderly parents or families, extended families we have to take care of. And some people have time and they just don't realize that they do. So, one of those things is making sure that we're protecting that time for that lead gen. We don't know what to say. So, had to get on a path to mastering the dialogue. And we want to really make sure we're practicing what we're saying so we're comfortable. So certain personalities are different. I was of the mindset of I have to do this. I'm going to do it. If I mess up, I'm going to move on to the next one and try and forget it. Not everybody can do that. Some people, my 12-year-old, he's very conscious of what goes on around him and he would kind of crumble if someone was very, off-putting to him. So I think doing that and making sure you're going through the dialogue, practicing with someone else that maybe practicing, in the shower when you're getting ready in the morning, and then afraid of making mistakes. So again, it's just tasks and skills that are well documented. So if it doesn't work the first time, do it again the second time. It doesn't matter. You just keep going. Someone will go there. You know what? Not everybody's in a good mood when you're talking to them. They might be going through things. So a lot of the mindset I go into thinking is, maybe they're having a bad day. This has nothing to do with me. It's not personal.
On the subject of, the fear of rejection, obviously I'm not licensed, so I don't have experience in that side, but favorite quote that I've seen that's helped reframe my thinking around that is that every no, you're one no closer to yes. And so, especially door knocking, you're going to get no's and no's and no's.
Yeah.
Every no is you're one step closer to a yes. Yeah, that's something that has helped to reframe that thinking for me.
Yes. So we're going to look at lead generation is lead generation is the number one key to success in real estate. It doesn't matter how good you're at selling homes. If you don't know anybody, how are you supposed to sell? It's like having a store down the corner and no one knows where you're at. If no one knows who you are, and what you're doing, how are you going to do any business? So we don't want to be that secret agent where no one knows what we're doing. It's okay to tell people that you're a real estate agent. It's okay to, create these relationships and this sense of trust to be able to try and capture that lead. So everyone here, I assume, knows what a sphere of influence is, a SOI. Anybody want to explain what an SOI is?
Sphere of influence, it's all the people that you know and all the people that they may know, any source of referral. So for me, when I first started, I made 3 porters. red, green, and blue. These were the ones that are most likely to buy from me in the very near future, and I had a list of. So then I had a list of blues that went through the referral network, hoping that, they would give me. And the reds were the long shots that might take 2-3 years to pan out. And if you work them accordingly, it's not static, you move things around.
Yeah.
It does work.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it's, it's a group of people that it's, they know you, they trust you, they like you, and they know that they want to do business with you. And so what do we do? How do we access this group?
You don't want.
We can't. So right now we want everybody to kind of get their contacts. Like, how many contacts do you have in your phone right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you open your contact, I know for iPhone especially, if you scroll all the way to the bottom of your contact list, at the bottom it tells you the exact.
Yeah. Let's do that right now. Tell me. I would like to know how many people have.
It might be the same.
Oh my God.
Anyone online want to share how many contacts they have in their phone?
52.
If you do.
1,057.
Like, it depends how long you've had your phone too. Like, my iCloud account I've had since I was in like grade 9. So it's like I've got everyone from like my first school job boss is still in my,
Oh my God.
like, yeah, it's
Young generation has a heads up on the older generation. Yeah.
Yeah,
start, yeah.
Funny. Anybody else want to share?
I'm trying, but we'll get to the bottom.
I've got a lot.
But there's
Okay. Not sure on Android.
Maybe it's not. Yeah. Maybe
Mine
this is only
doesn't
iPhone
count
friendly.
either, but I'm estimating about 150.
150. Okay.
I've
great.
had mine since I was young too.
Good.
Does everyone know how to import them into Command for?
I'm not
Just a little plug. Yeah.
sure it should be.
So this here is kind of an exercise. It says, there's a rule of thumb of, everybody moves a certain amount of years. When I first got into this, it was 4 to 5 years. Here they're saying 8, but this is we're about 7 years, and it really depends on what demographic you are. First-time home buyers, investors, young people are more likely to sell their house within the next 4 to 5 years.
When their mortgage, like, that's the.
When their mortgage goes up, they want to
Typical.
jump up. Maybe they started a family, maybe they've got promoted, they have more money, they have a different lifestyle, they want to move into something else. Then we get into that middle age, that middle section, they might take 7-8 years. So there could be something, anything, it could be, relocation for a job, it could be a death in the family, it could be a divorce, anything like that. Then you have the seniors or the empty nesters, and then they're looking to downsize. There's different ways to look at it. But if we look at our contacts, if we have 250 people, what's the potential of all those 250 people or all the contacts that have bought and sold of them actually coming and buying and selling again? So a lot of the more senior agents will look and say, okay, well, I sold this person in pre-pandemic. Equity right now is huge, would have doubled, more than doubled, it's a really good time to call that person and see what's going on. Maybe they want to make the move. Interest rates right now are, they're stabilizing. They're not as high as they were last year, but this would be something we would want to, monopolize on when we get those contacts and we keep going. When we look at our contacts, maybe we're in there, not everybody can buy a house. Maybe somebody already owns, like they already own their house. We want to figure out what would be the conversion of the likelihood of them, really speaking, what would be the likelihood of them converting the sellers, your clients, into another referral? When we look at everybody in our pool and all our 1,000 agents or 1,000 people we have, right? What would be the percentage there that we would be able to reach out to them and then have them refer us?
Okay.
So there's 10%.
Yeah, the average is 10%. Yeah. So here it says, this math here that they've done, it says 10%. So if you have 250 contacts, there's about 25 referrals you can get out of there. 25 referrals, 25 deals.
I'm not doing. I would be. Well,
Yeah, right. When we're looking at, then we go further deeper into there, we're, we want to make sure that we want to multiply. So what do we look at when we have the number of home sales? And, you know, what would be the average commission? What would you say the average commission is, Umi?
I have 7 up there.
Oh, the commission. What would be the
Yeah,
average,
7,000.
7,000, right.
Average.
but here we'd
But-
be,
Me, it's probably 8.5.
yeah,
I think our average sale price in Halifax is what, like
540, yeah, so
But then
times.
you have the condos that are nice and the mini homes, so.
Right, so let's say 500, let's say average, 500,000.
we're a bit Americanized now.
For example, last year, I took my amplitude.
Yeah, and 2% of that would be 10,000.
So we're a little bit,
Yeah,
Seven would
between
be-
5 and 10, I would
Yeah.
say is a good,
Then expenses maybe 25%.
yeah.
well, when we look at, you know, when we look at our numbers, we look at our sphere, we look at how many contacts are in there. Yes, maybe not everybody is buying. We want them to refer you. You still want to reach out to them. You still want to maintain that relationship.
Mhm.
Cause look at the numbers here, you know?
And even if it was half of that, it was just one part of lead generation that just already exists.
Yeah.
You don't need to go and find these people. They're already in your phone. They're already on your Facebook friends list. You don't have to go out and find them.
So your SOI is your database. So we've already talked about like how many people are on your phone. You know, where else would we find other contacts that may not be on our phone?
My
believe it's-
Facebook connection, like most of my connection, so this is Rena, most of my connection is not on my phone, but on my Facebook, because most of these people who would now be buying are living here. And since I moved, I've had them mostly on Facebook. And with Facebook calling option, like we don't exchange numbers anymore. They usually reach out on Messenger. I reach out to them on Messenger. So I think that's a very strong place for me when I think of my database.
Yeah, absolutely. Social media is huge, right? Having those, and Facebook and Instagram are a bit different. You know, a lot of people use different platforms to generate their business, you know, but that's another huge one that we all use and we all know. How do we, you know, there's another way, another touch point that we can make to our database and to our clients to maintain that relationship. So how has everybody been already lead generating? What would be one way that, you know, what's one way that we haven't mentioned that you would lead gen?
Networking events.
Networking event, yeah. Advertising, billboards, business cards. Anybody else online want to share what they've been doing to lead gen?
Open house and walking.
Cedric's been working hard door knocking.
We'll say I see Umi's face on the back of a bus. at
Yeah.
least weekly.
Yeah.
Is it? Have you gotten anything from that?
Yeah.
Have, but it's also because I've done real estate for so long. People from Ontario, people from the Middle East, because I've done real estate in the Middle East as well, so Dubai, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait.
Right.
So sometimes they recognize me like you did. And then they remember me and then they call me. Nobody takes a number. I mean, I've had 2 taxi drivers drove behind me for so long, they actually wrote my number down. Oh, doesn't make it.
It's been bigger for almost like brand awareness that like it's reminding people of you.
It's subliminal marketing.
Yeah.
Uh,
I haven't seen your bus.
Yesterday.
No, they're still going, but they discontinue as of the 6th. Well, when I started, there were no realtors on bus buses other than Chris Perkins.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, every second bus is a realtor. So I'm
Yeah.
something.
Saturated, right?
Yeah.
Time to shift.
Obviously, keep in touch with had a sudden cancellation, like billboards on Barrett. I was like, all day.
Nice.
So, for the what? Day now,
Awesome.
and then another one in July.
On July. So it's
Different one in Barrett Street.
Okay.
Blueberry.
Should you get a broker approved? Or have to put my
Basically,
place in there?
basically the same as my.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like,
That's good. That's
Cool.
good. That's major brand awareness there too, right? Right on Barrington. I had a listing on Barrington and the amount of people would call me or mention, or if I was out and be like, oh, I saw your sign, I saw your sign, I saw your sign, I saw your sign, I saw your sign. I'm like, I better sell it soon before it stays there too long, but yeah. Good, good. So, when we want to think about, lead gen, we need to we just got to get people in our database. We talk about the bucket, prospecting and marketing, lead generation activities that deliver leads into your business. So, as you can see at the top of the model, we're capturing the leads, we're prospecting and marketing, putting them into the database. We can never, ever, ever have too many leads. So what's the best practice to lead gen through prospect, least, and marketing enhanced approach? So we just kind of touched on that, the different ways that everybody's lead genning. Prospecting is actually out face-to-face talking to people. It's low cost to no cost method. It yields a quantity of leads, which, in turns give you quality leads. So it's, if we're looking at the Facebook, social media, when we're doing those online leads, those Instagram paid ad leads, those leads are so much more cold and harder to convert into a client than someone from your sphere. Someone from your sphere that's sitting at their work, talking to their colleague, and they're like their colleague saying, yeah, I'm getting ready to sell. I want to move to Beaverbank because, my mother lives out there and I need childcare. And your friend is sitting there saying, well, gosh, my really good friend, Nina, she's a real estate agent. You should really talk to her. She's awesome. You want that person being in your corner. You want that person from your sphere referring you. You want to establish personal relationships. You want to keep direct contact moment, and we want to increase your confidence in your skills. So, we look at, there's things that you can put into marketing, like, I don't know how much the billboard would have cost, but that might be a little bit more expensive than postcards. But there's easy ways to do it. Door knocking is a simple, easy way to, all you need is business cards. Door knock. $1,680 for a month. For the month. Okay. So it'd be interesting, if you're able to get one deal out of that, then that's paid for over again. So, so when we want to make sure, market, your preferences, your budget, your goals will dictate the type of lead generation you employ. So the top agents will track their lead generation. They keep a tracker. They look at what's working, what's not working, and they really lean into their sphere because they want, repeat referrals, come back to them. And then they use their offline advertising. So direct mail, yard signs, that kind of thing. There's no right or wrong method. Some people love door knocking and they go door knocking. Some people really work on their farming. They put out their postcards, they really farm the area. There's many different ways, or they're really involved in their community. There's, for an agent, I could speak of an agent who's not from here and he's well ingrained in the Dartmouth, downtown Dartmouth community. And I know if I have a listing or anything that's happening there, I know that he's in there. And sometimes I call him and say, hey, what's going on here? Do you have any listings coming up? Just because he's so well ingrained in the community, volunteering with everybody that's there. Yeah. Relationship management. So,
Yeah. As you start lead generating, obviously you're going to capture information. And the next step is to put that into your database. The database is simply a container that holds all the information for your leads and your contacts. Command is your database, is your free database. So it's all included for you. So definitely utilize that as much as you can. There's a lot of great features in there, which we can look at. More than just having a database, you want to have a smart database, or we call it a data bank. Because hopefully the goal is that it turns into a source of income for you with your sphere of influence in your database. A smart database that allows you to have planned and meaningful communication with the people who are in it, which means you have them categorized and sorted properly, and there's all the information that you need in there. Just having names in a list isn't going to help you, so having complete contact records is a big thing. So there's nothing more valuable for your business than your database or your data bank. Everyone's taken data basics with me. Something I mentioned is something a lot of people don't think about. Way down the road when you decide to retire, if you have a smart database, so you have a database that has value, you can sell it. Agents will purchase that. But it needs to obviously be organized and not just like a list of 5,000 names. that,
Very
you
well
know,
run.
they have no idea where that person's coming from because they need to have contacts in order to start a relationship with those people if they do purchase your database. So it's all down the road for a lot of people, especially anyone who's new joining, but it's something to think about and set up right at the beginning. Okay. So there's two types of people in your database. There's leads and contacts. Before you read the screen, can anyone tell me the difference between a lead and a contact? Yeah.
Lead is, just like have information on someone. Contact.
Essentially.
No,
Nope,
you're right.
You're right.
Yeah.
Main difference is the relationship. So a lead is someone that you have the right to have a one-way conversation with, whether that's sending them an email or giving them a call. You have permission to contact them, but you have not spoken. Don't have a relationship with them. You don't really know much about them, what their needs are. So that could be, you ran a Facebook ad and you got someone's name, email, phone number. You have that information, but it's all you have. You don't have a relationship, but you do have permission to talk to them. It might be, your friend's uncle wants to buy a house, so they gave you his phone number, and it's someone that you now have to reach out to and build a relationship with. Those are leads. And then contacts are people that you've had a two-way conversation with. You've called them and they answered, or you sent them an email and they answered, or someone, again, your sphere of influence is someone that you do already have a relationship with. The goal is always to turn your leads into contacts. So once you have that information, reaching out to them, building that relationship. Can anyone think of any other examples of leads or where they would come from?
Every single contact is potentially a client.
Yeah.
Or even not, because you told that story the other day that you were talking to someone else
Someone else.
and they overheard and they said, I'm gonna call me.
Speed dialer operator for all players. So it's like that, 40,000.
Well, some people buy leads.
Yeah, you can buy leads
Maybe just my age, but I cannot hear.
Oh.
because you're behind them.
He said that he has, you, go ahead. Wow, you want to say it again? Want to repeat yourself?
Oh, I was just saying that I used to work for call center back in the day. I was a dialer operator.
Yeah.
I ran like the OPEB system without leads from the client
Yeah, absolutely.
and low limit systems. Just to go.
Yeah.
Every Uber driver, every cashier in a restaurant, every server is
Potential.
a meal at Costco, like everybody is a lead to me. And I have a whole family.
That's good. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly what you want. Yeah. No, people do buy, they do buy leads. So sometimes there's these lead generation system. Once you get in there and these companies get your phone number, they're going to be calling you and say, hey, I can double your business. Want to buy leads? So some of them work,
They
some of them
work.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you buy those leads work, it's just.
Yeah.
If you are starting out, I would say definitely.
Yeah.
But I find that like for me, what the time it takes to follow up, because if you don't do it immediately.
Yeah,
They're
they're gone.
On to the next,
Yeah.
yeah.
Speed to lead.
Yeah.
I tried lead gen buying leads, but I didn't sell because I'm not quick enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So me or you?
So that's the hardest.
I can do it. So so, once we have the lead, we create a relationship with that person. We want to sustain, and strengthen that relationship. So, we introduce ourselves, we're talking to them, but if we never talk to them again, do you think that they're going to for you or talk to you again? Or, we want to make sure that we have some sort of contact and connection. No reason why we need to talk to them again. We want to sustain that relationship, cultivate those contacts for conversion. So want to be saying, you know, what is the intent? The intent is there to buy and sell, but sometimes when we have that content, we don't always want to be like, hey, do you want to buy real estate? Do you want to sell real estate? Do you want to do this? What are ways that we want to maintain that relationship? How do we do that?
Days, anniversary, Facebook updates.
Yeah.
We-
Had new baby. Oh my God, your baby's so cute. Get invited to their baby shower. So that's where you want to be. You want to be going to that baby shower. This is my real estate agent.
And you'll be surprised how often we do it.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. We get so busy, but it's hard. You want to say no, but it's good not to say no. It's really good to find that time. And during COVID, we found when everything kind of shut down, you know, it was really hard to maintain those relationships because we weren't going. If you really were on your social game and you weren't social, move everything online. There was no baby showers. There was no, you know, birthday parties, anniversaries.
Well, recently, I had my husband was out of town. A friend of mine called me and said, hey, I heard your husband's out of town. Oh, nice out of town. Want to go out for dinner? You know what to do. So I said yes. But he was like panicking.
Yeah.
So they on the day off, called and said, no, I'm sorry, I'm just, too swamped with work. I can't make it. But he invited a whole bunch of people that I thought would be great for you to network with.
Oh, no.
So I didn't go. And he's a really nice guy. And
Yeah.
I don't think he meant anything. It was just the way he came.
The way he communicated that to you.
This 30-year-old guy wanted to have a 60-year-old woman over.
Little.
Right? Yeah.
But yeah,
Yes.
they were so well intentioned and I didn't go. I could have asked.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were having anyone. It's the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. Next time, you know, you'll ask, right? Yeah.
I think just has the potential that like bring on. Need to like keep reminding myself not to do that because like even though they might look like a kid or something, they could have parents that like talking about something.
Two of my top investors, when I started working with them, were 21. Were 21 years old, and they came from the bank of mom and dad. They're my best investors right now because mom and dad they were investors,
Mhm.
and this is what they want for their kids. So that's a perfect example. Never discount. You don't know.
And I've heard a lot of university students like coming from other provinces to go to school in Halifax. Their parents will buy an apartment or condo here. So that's still
And
another,
that's over. To the
yeah,
Yeah.
PD.
other provinces, but yeah.
Because you're not buying the children's name and they're not going to pay 7.5%.
No, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gross.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
We're talking about the 10%.
10,000 each and
Yeah.
same for.
Yeah, I have a client right now who's going through that right now. So I found a loophole. So if you want to buy a mobile home in a park,
They do that.
you don't have to pay the 10% transfer tax.
Back to your.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They don't want to buy my house.
that's really like. Most parents that are wealthy, they don't want to buy a wild home for their kids and trust that long nice.
Or in a location that is convenient
Yeah,
to
they're always,
university.
One news that it's
Mm-hmm.
not as nice as where Jess lives.
Yeah.
So I don't want it.
Yeah.
I think yours is the best.
yeah, I like it. I live in Woodbine, if anyone. Myself. Um,
I tried to sell when I was newly licensed.
Mhm.
I was watching it, but when I tried to do a deal, the park management said we don't want the likes of you.
Really?
I don't know.
weird.
I didn't call them out on it.
Wow.
I think they did change management. I think they sold the park.
I never went, I had friends that lived in their parents, but I never tried to sell it.
Wow.
I just,
Interesting.
I would be offended too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
but those were the exact, you don't want them.
Wow. Wow.
Never that week.
Yeah. I'm offended by that.
Yeah, I'm offended for you.
Yeah.
But depending on what they meant.
Yeah.
if
Wow.
not, Makes it. They
Yeah.
might maybe realtors,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's
every which way that.
Okay, so types of communication. So every time you reach out to a person in your database, obviously it's going to be through one of these types of communication. So having the method of reaching out to them, that's why it's important to have a complete contact record, to have a way to reach out to them. Having a list of names with no info, it doesn't help you. I would say these are like, I think they're in handwritten communication.
To tell you when to remember how.
Yeah. So if you just click the little thing at the top, oh, not that one.
That's okay, you told us.
If you click view at the top and do
You said the icon next to the arrow.
oh yeah.
There you go.
I don't know what happened.
I go.
Can we go this go, please? Moment.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah. Let me just do this.
There it is.
Perfect. Very good. All right. Other types of communication. There's a lot of ways that you can do this, obviously manually, like calling someone, writing a handwritten birthday card or whatever it is. Then there's some automated ways as well. Obviously, emails you can do manually, text messages face to face. But you can automate emails and text messages to go out. That's through Smart Plans in Command. Has anyone used Smart Plans? Well, no. Yeah. So if anyone's new and doesn't know what a smart plan is, it's basically, we call them drip campaigns, if you ever heard that term, but it's basically a series of texts, emails, or tasks that are created for you to remind you to do something. There's a whole library of them that are already created, and you can use them for all different types of purposes. A main one would be, let's say you do a Facebook ad. You could have an automatic email that goes to every lead that you get from that Facebook ad. You could actually build it out so you have like 2 months of follow-up after they click on your Facebook ad. Because a lot of those type of lead generating, like Facebook ads, they're very cold leads, so you do need to follow up very often. And so you can automate those things.
Even if you
through
did
command.
have that paid service where you are getting those leads, you can connect them to the drip. So then you are getting them right away. If you might be at an appointment and then you email right away, so you don't lose that lead.
Yes, like Umi said, like you have to be following up and you have to do it fast because then they just disappear. Speed to lead is the name of the game when you're doing online lead generation. So being the first person to get back to them is what's going to sort of solidify you as the person that they're going to choose.
First person they will work.
Yeah, especially when you think of Facebook ads because they're going to be scrolling their feed and they're clicking on houses. If they click on one, they're going to get 5 more the next time they go on Facebook. So if they click on 3 or 4 and you're the first person who reaches out to them, you're more likely to be the one that they actually end up working with, and you can automate that so you don't even have to reach back out to them. It's just happening. So that's a great way to automate that. Of course, you can go to Gmail and email them, and you can text them. You can send individual emails and text right from command as well. And we have the KW app. Does everyone have the KW app? Yes.
It's more for clients. So
It is more for clients. There's a reason why you should have it. I'm going to attempt to share my phone screen.
we do have it. It's not. How's it going?
See if I
Testing it.
can-
Yeah.
Go.
I can't share my phone screen. Let's see. The KW app, it is a client-facing app, so it's basically a property search that people can download and search for properties. But they can also connect to you as the agent. And then when they do that, they get added as a contact in your database. So everyone has a unique link. I'll see if I can just share my green screen. From command, you have a link that, okay. That's about right. try that again.
They are.
Connects you to your app. So when you share that link, someone clicks it, it brings them to the App Store to download the KW app. When they create their account, they're automatically linked to you. You get a notification in Command that so-and-so has signed up on your app or your website. Okay, so in Command, if you click on the website, and go to settings, down here below, you will see, I just switched to my personal account. You will see your app URL settings. So right here is the KW app. You can click copy, and then you can paste that. Some people put it in their email signature. Some people will post it on Facebook. You can do a lot of marketing around that because it is a way that you're generating leads into your database because someone clicks it, they sign up, or in your database. What's really nice about that as well is if you do get that notification that someone has signed up on your app and you go to that contact record, it's going to show you everything they've looked at on the app. You can see what areas they're looking in, what properties they're looking at, and then they can like talk to you through it and like ask questions about it.
With some agents, you create a QR code and put it on their sign.
Absolutely.
Do that.
Yep. Yep. So you could have like a rider maybe that says like download my app, the QR code. Yeah. Yeah.
I think one
Can't share my screen for whatever reason.
Actually, maybe
my
my QR code.
Yeah, so let me see.
you said you have the
It looks like this. This is what it will look like on your app store if you search KW Real Estate. It's just your standard property search app. If you have a KW website as well, so your .kw.com website that's in Command, it's the exact same thing, just in app form. So if they make an account on your website, it works on the app. If they make an account on the app, it works on the website. And they can view properties on both. Okay. The main thing I like to point out about the KW app, if you think of Realtor.ca, it is all of Canada. Look at Zillow, it's all of the US. Look at Point, it's only Nova Scotia. The KW app, you can look at properties anywhere in the world where there is a KW office. They have the MLS feed. So you can go on and look at all of the properties in
Greece.
Dominican Republic or Greece.
My clients are just in Greece. Found a KW. Yeah, super pumped.
So anywhere there's a KW office, you can look at properties, which is great if you do know people who live outside of Canada. If you know people who want to move outside of Canada, they can find properties on your app and then you can refer them. So that's just another income source. Obviously receiving referrals is an income source, but also sending referrals is another one because, you know, you'll get a referral fee if you refer clients. Yeah, so if they have an account on your app or your website, you can set up saved searches. They can do it themselves in the app. They can like create their own like folders and like favorite properties. But you can also go in and say like, I know you want to look in Beaverbank, this is your price range, this is your criteria. And they have a special section in there where it's like your saved search and it'll only show properties that criteria. That's all. Yeah. So it's definitely worth downloading. Like Matthew said, isn't this a client app? It is. So when you download it, we're going to click sign up and you're just going to use your personal email and create an account. And you're going to connect to yourself, the agent. Just nice to be able to see what your clients see. You can test things out, you know, view properties on it, and then go look at the contact record in your contacts, set up save searches. I'm very big on add yourself as a contact, test out all the things before you send it to people, just to see how it works, and so you can answer questions if they do have questions. But the KW app is great for that. It's connected to our MLS, so it's basically as up to date as Realtor.ca would be as they update things. Yes, definitely utilize that. I can show you if I go through here. And I use the filters in my contacts. I can go down to, actually it's open right here, agent site connection, and filter by connected. And that will show you anyone in your contacts who is connected through your KW app or your website. They'll always have this little green check mark next to their name. So again, you always have that check mark. The lead source will say KW app/site. And then in the timeline of that contact, you're going to see anything that they've done on the app. So I can see that contact registered on my agent site here, created a saved search, they logged out, they submitted an inquiry. And then if they view actual properties, it will say viewed 123 Main Street and 456 Main Street. So it's really great to see, what they're interested in. And it's kind of cool to see over time. Let's say someone signed up on my app a year ago. Now when I look, they're active on my app again and they're looking in a totally different neighborhood. Maybe that's my cue to call them because they might be interested in looking at a house. Maybe it's a cottage, maybe whatever it is. Either way, it's a good way to know that someone is interested in real estate. You don't get, actually, I think you do get a notification when someone logs in on your app. In your contacts, you can also go, in the filters, there is this recently active filter. You can set a filter, who's been active within the last month and apply it. Obviously, I don't have any, but that will show you who's been actually doing stuff on your app or your website, which is nice. And then I mentioned saved searches. So when I open that contact that is connected on my or my website, the saved searches tab there, you can click create saved search. And then you can put in all of the criteria here. So search by city, price, amenities. Maybe they only want a house with a pool, for example. You can set that, and then they have that specific area within the app to look at properties that meet their criteria. It's important to note, you'll see this saved search on every single contact that you have. If they don't have an account on your app or your website, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't get anything. It only works if they're connected. Any questions about the app? Nothing online? Sure.
30 open sites.
We have them that you can buy, riders and the other street. Just check with Alicia. Okay. With handwritten communication, obviously that's pretty manual. But one thing you can do in Command is on every contact record, there's an option to put addresses in. As long as you have addresses in marked as a mailing address, when you're in your contact list at the top, there's 3 dots at the top, and you can do export all contacts as mailing labels. Yeah. So it will actually give you a sheet of mailing labels. They're formatted for like the standard Avery return labels. And then you can print your labels and mail them out. That's something to keep in mind. Another reason to have a complete contact record, putting people's addresses in, because you can do that. The best trigger to put an address in would be on closing day to go in, add the address that they just bought because you have it, and put their home anniversary date in. Because then you can set up a smart plan reminder a year from now that it's their home anniversary and you send a card. So having all of those things, again, is important. Have a complete database. And birthdays, yeah.
Flyers, like whole
We do direct mail, yeah. You choose by postal code. You pay by postal code.
So we're going to talk about the client referral loop. So the goal is we capture the lead, we're prospecting, marketing, we put them in our database, we're cultivating, we're keeping them in there, and then we want to convert, right? So we get a client, we meet someone, hey, invite them to one of my buyer seminars that I've had. They receive information with me. Way that I keep in contact with them is I might send them quarterly stats. I might send them quarterly information about what's happening in the market on HRM. I may even text once in a while and say, hey, do you want to go for a coffee? different types of contacts. Once we get in there, the goal is to convert them into a client. They purchase a house, then they go back in, just like Jess said, they go back into the bucket, and you're gonna send them, you might send them a birthday card, you might send them a home anniversary card, you might send them a gift. You might have a client event where I'm gonna host a skating party. For all of my clients, it's gonna be free. They can come, they can bring the kids. I'm gonna invite them to that event. We may have something here at Keller Williams where we might invite clients to as well. We want to keep that contact and we're cultivating that relationship. If they're not into a client, we want to convert them into, well, if they're a client, we want to have them a repeat business. So if they're, fresh, young, professional, and all of a sudden they get married and maybe have, decide to start a family, they're going to want to move up into a different side of the family, or maybe they get relocated.
Yes, they will.
Yeah. And then in terms of, if that's not the case, eventually they may become a client, but they're going to refer you. So you want them to refer you to their friends. You say, hey, I know and trust this agent, and I think you really should work with them. They're awesome. People have FOMO too. So sometimes when you have an event and it's like, oh, they hear that their real estate agent is putting on an event or doing this, and they're like, what? My real estate agent doesn't do that. So sometimes people get FOMO. But this is important to keep the loop going. We want to make sure we're keeping them in, and then there's multiple ways that they're coming back into the bucket to feed it.
And especially don't let people fall off just because they're not going to buy or sell.
Yeah.
Because that's referrals.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you do get an awkward transaction where you're like, oh my God, I hope this person never calls me back again. Most of the time, that's not the case, right? That's not the case. When you get into a business and you have a lot of business and you want to share them and you're like, I don't know if I want to work with this person, then you can refer them to someone else, right? Sometimes that happens. You refer them to someone else. So, nurturing, it never ends. Lead gen never ends. And it always is best. We need to protect it. We need to time block it. We need to keep it to make it the best results. This determines the size of your business. And it's essentially, the how that will help you reach your goals for starting your career. So the last section today, we're going to discuss time blocking for lead gen.
I had the worst contact one. I actually had firing.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to do that.
I showed this guy like 80, 90 different homes. Didn't buy a single one. Dude, just wasting my time. Like, this isn't,
Not
I
serious.
don't get paid.
Yeah.
No. This isn't fun for me. It might be fun for you.
Yeah.
Well, no, you didn't. So,
Until they start wasting your time.
like, holy, like, I think
They just wanted to hang out with you.
he just wanted to hang out with me. Yeah. Like,
Was it realtor? It's C2 in BC. Vancouver. We showed a client so many homes, came to the office that day and said, if this guy doesn't buy it today, fire if he was my client, he dropped it all. It was the single largest, he got like 20 or 25 homes
Keep it 25 homes.
in one day. And it was the single largest deal done by a C2 in
Wow.
MPC.
BC.
Wow.
And an agent thought it was a tire maker.
Right.
And yeah, it went like wildfire through C2 that this happened.
Thank God I didn't fire him.
I met my numbers for the year.
This person ran her ragged boots. They bought a whole bunch of one.
It's like winning the lottery, I think.
Well,
Right.
just never know.
Wow.
Could never fire her. I'm sorry I contradicted you, but
No, that's
I learned a lesson now.
this guy was a teacher. Definitely couldn't do that.
we might have had the bank of mom and dad.
He was
I
old
buy so many, but you never know.
No, you don't know, right?
And everyone's gonna have a different threshold
Yeah.
of like what your boundaries are and what is worth it
Yeah.
to you.
I
And
think
what isn't.
it's who everyone's money.
Yeah. But it's always good to know the expectations. So when you meet them, you set them up, you have those questions, you ask those questions and have those expectations and the qualifying questions too, right?
We have a whole session on qualifying buyers
Yes.
and sellers, so they'll
Yeah,
talk
we'll
about that.
cover that there. So Chris just joined us. Hi, Chris.
Nobody and good patience.
So we're talking about sphere of influence, the people in your life that influence you. These are close relationships, close friends, family, distant connections, your child's friends, parents, former coworker, a neighbor, a mom's friend from college. I had that. My mom's friend from school, she called me and I sold 2 of her homes. You know, so it's important to connect with your sphere, you know, systematically, efficiently, and effectively, you know, and we're going to get a lot of that over the course of the month. And, you know, we want to get the most out of how we follow up on what we're going to do. So we're categorizing our sphere. So it's good to categorize. We're going to expand beyond our relationship. So yes, we have our sphere and we have our immediate family, our friends, and the people we come in contact with every day. But, you know, these are different, you know, other ways that we can look at seeing categories of how we expand those. So we have our immediate family, friends, relatives, neighbors, past coworkers, hobbies, sports groups, teachers. Oh, you know, maybe you volunteer at school and the teachers get to know you. You know, church, clubs, volunteer services, professional services, financial, legal services, professional services, home auto services, real estate agents, other real estate agents, real estate services, and others. So, you know, there's a ton of different ways that we can look at it, because a lot of agents come in here and they might have just moved here and they say, well, I don't have any friends or family here, or my friends and family here are small. Okay, well, we want to expand that. This is the way to expand it, to look at these different categories. So we're going to take a couple of minutes. I'd like you to think about, you know, beyond your friends and family, who you think that you could reach out to is not your direct, in your direct sphere, that could come into your sphere. Sure. So I want you to think about, so we have our friends or family or colleagues, you know, who's in our sphere already. What's a different, what's a different, like a different avenue that you could get a sphere? Where else could you find someone to put in your sphere that's not a direct contact already? Or
Absolutely. Could always think of yourself as a realtor. Anyway, well. When if you're sitting in an airport.
Yeah.
people go on vacation, they come back with clients.
Pretty sure on the way back from family reunion the year that I went, whoever Janice sat next to on the plane, she got a referral from. Yeah.
From Spain. It was from Spain,
Yeah.
I think.
Absolutely everywhere, can't discount.
So let's hear an example. So I'll lean on some people online. What would be, you know, Shedrick, who would be someone that you could put into your sphere that you hadn't thought of before? We look at that 15 categories.
Maybe past employers or some professors from university.
Yeah. Go. Good. You know?
I was thinking about people at the gym. I see them all the time. I don't know if they want to be bothered at the gym, but it's definitely people that I could talk to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sonia?
I think past coworkers, because I think they have like a big sphere of influence on their own, so they would be great for referrals.
Good. Good. Great. Renat?
Yeah, I would go with the past coworkers as well as, and also like Umi was saying, again, I'm learning from her that anyone that you interact with, right? Like yesterday I was at Winners, I was having a conversation, and by the by, it somehow came up about housing and real estate, and I did just say that, oh, I'm a realtor as well, and I exchanged numbers. So that was the first time ever I did
Good for
anything
you.
like that. But yes, I'm not even sure whether this person will ever get in touch because this person was a newcomer, didn't even think of buying a house, but at least the conversation was there. So I just understood that it could be anybody that you interact with. Like, yes, going to Umi's level would be, I mean, mastering at a very, very different level. But yes, at least I could break the ice and talk. So I think it's just that mindset of thinking that it could be anyone and have those conversations. If you get a slightest bit of a leeway to go into real estate or housing or just talking about housing crisis, just landing the fact that you work in real estate.
Right.
So that was my aha
Everyone-
moment for you today.
Good.
Everyone needs somewhere to live.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what's the beauty of this industry is that, you know, everyone needs somewhere to live,
Yeah.
so.
True. So I'd like everybody to think about like what their day was like yesterday. Like what did you do yesterday morning when you woke up? So you woke up, oh, did you get in the shower? Did you read? Did you answer emails? You know, feed the kids, get them off to school? Did you, go to the gym? What did we do? Let's think about yesterday, what you did, and take yourself through the day. Where in that day would be place where you actually met someone you could have had a conversation with to create a lead.
Like at Winners.
Yeah. And I did it already. Skipped ahead. No.
Anyone want to share?
Yeah. Someone must have went out yesterday other than Renee.
I can share mine.
Sure.
I do seniors programming. I do chair yoga and chair fitness. So yesterday at chair fitness, I was talking to some of the seniors and they were just asking me what I'm up to these days. So I told them that I'm starting my real estate career. So I didn't know about like exchanging phone numbers and I don't have business cards yet. I literally just started. So yeah, now I know like next week when I see them, I can just hand them a card because we already had that beginning conversation.
Good. That's awesome. That's awesome. Anyone else want to share?
I ran to Doug's boss yesterday. I was picking her up. Work actually. I thought
Good.
talk to him, and we always have something in common.
Yes.
There's work there. To a golf course.
Yeah. Good. Awesome.
And every interaction doesn't have to be you like trying to sell your services as a realtor. It's just making sure people know, again, not being a secret agent, because when someone does have that need, they're much more likely to just text you if they have your number in your
Yeah.
phone versus Googling a realtor in their area.
Yeah.
If they don't know anyone else.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're going to coffee shop, like I went to Harvest this morning and got a latte and the girls were in there. They're really sweet. They're really nice. Had a little chatted conversation with them. I do go in there often, and I feel I'm at the point now where they're kind of getting to know me. Do they know I'm a real estate agent yet? No. But if I had my Keller swag on, they would see me. So just as Chad mentioned in the last session, he is a lady where he goes into, is it Home Depot or Kent? She's there and she recognizes him every time because he has his Keller stuff on. Which is an easy way to get the conversation going. So, when we're going out, we're interacting with people, we can deepen those relationships and really go there. It's being social, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like Jess said, I'm in real estate. Do you want to buy something? You want to work with me type thing. It's cultivating that relationship and building that trust. I talk a lot about building that trust, being that trusted source and the friend, not it's Chris. Chris, the guy that comes gets coffee and he's a realtor, not, oh, here comes the realtor. So what I'd like you to do is going forward for tomorrow, like for the weekend, I know we're breaking, over the weekend, I'd like you to think about exactly what you're going to be doing this weekend, how you can have those conversations, who you're going to be interacting with in that day. So, or, to talk about the bold law that changed the way we look at things that you look at change. So when we started at the beginning of this, it's like, what is my limiting belief? What am I seeing at? We're scared. I'm scared of rejection. I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. I'm having a really hard, trying to get emails or trying to do this, right? So keep trying and change the way you look at things. We want to make sure we're reading the scripts, trying those things, following along with practices. Just trying it. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work the first time.
Let's see. So we talked about types of communication. Obviously, we know we need to be adding more personal information to our contacts in order to have that meaningful communication. Hinted at it before, and if you think of those types of communication, what information do you think we need to have? Bare minimum. Yeah. Full name, email, phone, address. Exactly what I have written here.
Those four, you
So it's important to have a way to contact them. And like you may have, so let's say you import your phone into Command. You're gonna have a whole ton of phone numbers, and likely you're not adding email addresses to your phone contacts. You probably don't have emails. And so maybe you make it, part of your regen time. If you're time blocking that, part of that could be just going through your database, maybe create a tag for everyone you're missing an email for. And then you have a list of people that, you need to give them a call and just check in, provide some value, or just like a care call, and then see if they want to share their email. Obviously, don't just be like, can I have your email address? You want to come from a place of providing value. So maybe you get on the topic of the market and it's, you want me to send you a report on the neighborhood just so you can see, what's listed, or, what the value of your home is, or anything like that. Obviously, always come from a place of value. Again, like Nina said, she doesn't like giving her email address out, and people are going to be hesitant of just, giving you their info, especially if it's not someone you have a deep relationship with. So always coming from a place of value. It could be, what's your email? I'll share my app with you, or you can search properties anywhere. There's so many different value pieces.
Right. Is there a way to link your emails into your Command contact and your emails from like your personal account?
Like the contacts in your email?
Yeah.
So you can, there is like an app today, which is a bit more complicated. One thing you can do is in your Google contacts, you have the ability to export, and you can import that spreadsheet directly into Command, just to do like a straight copy paste of everyone who's in your email into your Command. But then there is third-party apps, which I can talk about separately, I think, to sync them, that like every time you add a contact to Google, it adds it to Command.
Gotcha.
Yeah. If you want to send me an email, I can send you. So if anyone wants that, I can send it to you. It's a bit more of a loaded question. But yes, anywhere that you can export contacts from, maybe, you're a longtime Paragon user and you've done a bunch of people up on Collab Center and you have a bunch of contacts in there. There's an export button. You can export your contacts out of Paragon and import it into Command. Within the Command app on your phone, there's a button that literally just says import phone contacts, and you can import your phone into Command. You cannot import Facebook, sadly. Facebook does not allow you to export your contacts. So that's like, pull it up on one screen and on the other screen, enter contact. Yeah, there is quite a few different ways you can add contacts, import them. Again, you want to have more information. So people from your phone, you're not your email. People from your email account, you're probably not going to have their phone. And so it's the reverse. You now need to reach out and say, like, I'm just completing my contact records. Do you mind if I add your phone number? There's other information, maybe isn't that bare minimum, but helps you have that meaningful communication. I want to think of those details. Other information, so not phone, email, address. Say would be one. Something, a piece of info that allows you to have more meaningful communication. Okay.
Kids, pets.
Kids' names, pets' names. In Command, you have the ability to create custom fields. So you can, obviously there's a field for your birthday, there's a field for home anniversary, but you can add fields for kids' names. If you add a field for, I don't know, the date, I guess you'll have the anniversary for a closing date, but maybe
Getting married in the summer.
Wedding anniversary. Facebook's also really good for that. If you're monitoring your Facebook and you have those people in your database and you see their birthday come up, go over to Command and quickly add it. So filling in that information, it's going to help you have more meaningful communication. If you have their kids' names in there and you're calling them for some other reason, like, oh, how's Johnny doing? I can't believe he's in college now, blah, blah, blah. Like, it just shows that you care and that you remember things about them, and it gives them that warm, fuzzy feeling.
First, when you start working and you're getting building, you may not think it's as important, but as your database grows, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Especially if that
What's
person
their name,
gets
their kids'
calls
names. Yeah.
from multiple realtors. If you're the one that remembered that the kids start in college next year and that, have a dog and, they're from this area.
And you drop off a graduation card.
If you're the one they're going to call when it needs to buy a condo and help.
Trips they've gone on.
Yeah.
Notorious for that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we went to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Say,
And in the
Yeah.
Command timeline, there's notes. So you can literally just take notes. And then when you open it up to make your calls,
Yeah.
you have all that information you.
That's a good one, Chris, because you could back and say, hey, I'm thinking about taking my family next March break on a trip here. And it's a meaningful conversation you can have, and it's not about real estate, but it's a connection that you can still have.
It's not a real estate. It's just like about the Bahamas, because that was years ago. What's that about?
It all comes back to building a relationship. When you're building a relationship and simultaneously they know you're a realtor, you don't even need to talk state.
Yep.
So, if you know it's someone's birthday, so if you're on Facebook and it pops up, what's his birthday, what should you do? Should be your next step. Wish them happy birthday on Facebook. Said it earlier. A command, fill in their birthday. If they're not in your database, add them.
Support it.
You give them a call.
Sending a
Send them a
call on your
text.
birthday is like. a lot of
Don't send a card that day because they won't get it that day. But yeah, giving them a call.
A lot of people don't like talking on the phone nowadays, but getting a call on your birthday, hey, Billy, just kind of give me a call. Wanted to say happy birthday. Hope you have a good day. That's it.
Likely they won't answer. So
Yeah.
you just leave them a voicemail and then
Yeah.
they'll probably text you just to say thanks.
Yeah. How many phone calls do you get nowadays? Birthday.
Yeah.
Right. It's all on Facebook, right? Yeah.
Grandma.
Yes. Grandma.
Yeah.
Grandma does.
Yeah. But then next year now you have their database and so you can, a couple weeks ahead of time send a card. Okay. Cool. I think I talked about this. Other personal information like their hobbies. The example they gave me was knowing they love to crochet allows you to see an article online and share it with them. Maybe a video comes up on Reels and something funny about dogs and they have 4 dogs like my parents. Yeah, they're crazy. You can share that relatable video. And so it just helps you build that relationship, learning all those different things about people. Now that you know what information you should have, how would you get more information out of people? Ask. Always come from, a place of come from contribution, provide value.
Maybe one is, hey, I'm looking for a plumber. Oh my gosh, this is my thing backed up. I need a plumber. I don't know what to do. It's an easy one to reach out to because you're not doing your real estate. You're just saying, hey, I got a good plumber. This is his name. Do you want me to get you in contact? Okay, what's the best number to reach you at? I'll give him your phone number to call you right away.
So that leads into another thing.
Make sure you have a plumber that will do that for you.
Yeah. Well, that leads into another thing with expanding your sphere of influence and that list that Jill went through of people that you should have in your sphere. When you look at service providers. In my databases class, something I urge everyone to do is the Yellow Pages activity. Obviously, phone books aren't as common anymore. But if you pull up yellowpages.com, there's categories. Make sure you have a contact for every single category. Plumber, painter, all of those things. And exactly like Jill said, when you see someone post, and people do this all the time on Facebook or in your community groups or wherever, like anyone know a good plumber, you don't comment, call them and say, this is my guy. I'll help you. Make sure you have the guy to send them to, right? And then
car mechanic, car salesman,
exactly.
appliances, music teacher.
Because now that person, because you've sent them 10, 15 people, you think they're more likely to send their friend to you when they need to buy a house.
Well, even that, Ume said, music teachers. So if she's referring this music teacher, do you think the music teacher is going to say, hey, you should meet my friend Ume. She's a real estate agent, to her clients. If you're supporting their business, they're going to support your business too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a lot of agents think like, oh, mortgage brokers, inspectors, lawyers, and that's great. But every mortgage broker, inspector, and lawyer is working with a ton of agents. When you get more specific into all those other services, like right down to handyman and, not the ones you typically think of, but they're going to be people that want to have in your sphere.
Yep. I will tell you a great place to get those, which I am doing. You don't know anybody. I go into our Keller Williams Select Realty private Facebook group.
Yeah.
I look at everyone has asked, anyone know any good plumbers down at Home Bay, but any good, like the best lawyers in Halifax.
Write them down.
Yeah.
Right on my 5-star provider list.
Okay.
Use them. Actually, now I have.
Yeah.
But if it's good enough for co-agents,
Mhm.
it's good enough for me.
Yeah.
So I just fill it up and
So in our Facebook group, there's a little magnifying glass at the top and you can search. So search the word plumber, search the word painter, search the word mover. And you can find all of those that other agents have recommended. And then call and introduce yourself. Just say say who you are and get to know them. And
New businesses is a good one. So if you have a client, you close with them, you want to get them a gift, or you're doing a contest, they're a new business, you want to support them, go buy their gift cards, put that on a contest, put that as a gift, let them know that you're doing that, and then they'll support you. So it kind of goes away. So just another avenue.
go to all the little markets and stuff that come up because there's a lot of small businesses that'll do really nice things for like closing gifts and things like that as well. So that's another one. Yeah. You can talk about this for hours of different ways to find people to add to your sphere.
If I could add, you didn't always have to ask. You just have first. Getting realistic at some point.
Yeah, exactly. It comes back to just making sure you're not a secret agent and provide value, be helpful, build relationships. And the two will intersect at some point.
When I came to Halifax, I had no intention of becoming a realtor. I was retired, I was party. I used to volunteer. I used to do lots of different volunteer work. And my one client apparently asked a colleague, I want to buy a home. Do you know anybody? And he said, I see this lady on a bus. I don't know what kind of realtor she is, but she's a really nice person.
Yeah.
I have sold 5 homes to that one client.
Oh, wow.
Another 15.
Wow.
And I had never met the guy who referred me.
Wow.
It was COVID and I used to just listen to him on the phone. We used to talk about loneliness and I would just listen. I was volunteering.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
So you just
Sometimes they come from people you don't even know.
Yeah.
Like I know Jen Dennings was telling me a story that she was just working through a deal and she said the manager at Subway gave this lady her card. She's like, what does she look like? Like I don't know. Right? So it can be from the most unexpected places.
Another way is we want to think, when we talk about being intentional and where we're at, for me, I know my kids are heavily involved in sports and there's different types of parents. My kids are in hockey and football and basketball and, there's all these other ones, but sitting there's different types of parent groups, different things, right? So you really want to get to know the other parents. Sometimes there's parents that you don't want to get to know, but you don't want to be the parent that's sitting by themselves and being antisocial. Some days you're not having a good day and it's okay to be antisocial, but we want to go in and be intentional. Are you sitting there on your phone while you're waiting for the game to start or doing this? My kids have hockey. They have to be there an hour before the game starts. My husband's like, do we have to go in an hour before? And I'm like, yes, we have to go and socialize. We're going to talk to our friends. So being intentional and being there and creating those relationships,
I'm so jealous.
I feel like that also
I don't know what's going to happen when they leave the net, but yeah, I'll be coming to you.
Contact.
Yeah.
And when you go back to one of the first slides we went through, which was the myths of like, I don't have time to lead generate because you're so busy, you're doing all these things, your kids are in sport, like that is lead generate. Yeah. If you're, again, being in, you got a couple of years before that, but
exactly.
We'll tell you once the kids grow up, get jobs.
Yeah.
And all of my kids, co-workers know what I do.
Yeah.
It's just natural conversation.
Yeah. And then they build their spheres, right?
And then once they run your basement, which I hope happens soon, they have young friends in their 20s whom they want to start building all that stuff.
And they're going to trust their best friend's dad to help them.
Cycle,
Yeah.
Like it never ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one reason I had kids, just as a.
I need your real estate business.
I'll write my notes.
It was fun when they were young.
So I go to the next slide.
Oh yeah.
And then again, this one talks about, you want to, like, real estate is a really hard, demanding career. When you get busy, you get so busy and sometimes you don't have time for anyone, but just your client. Sometimes not your family. You really need to carve out that time. When we look back at the COVID years when the market was nuts, and everybody was hair straight back. I didn't have time to network. I didn't have time to go to birthday parties. I didn't have time to do anything. And my business did take a hit. A lot of people's business take a hit. We had to go back from that transactional to relational type business. And we
And you
really,
don't see the effect of that till later when all of a sudden the pipeline's empty
Yeah.
because
And
6
you're-
months ago you weren't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next year we go up.
Yeah.
Huge hit.
Yeah.
Get back to the basics.
Yeah, exactly. And here it's talking about, you know, what's your hobby? Do you like playing basketball? Do you like volunteering? Do you like gardening? Join those communities, join those groups, because it's going to feed you. It aligns with your career. It's something that you enjoy, but it's also something that can also feed your business, right? So it's finding that balance and actually carving out that time.
Yeah.
You know, they talk about a story here about an agent who they were forced to leave their entire business and their entire home because of a hurricane. They had to pick up and leave and move to a completely new place. They didn't know anybody. They didn't know anything, nothing. And they end up building up their business by simply wearing KW gear. Where they went, they built communities, wore their KW gear, and now they have several market centers. So simply doing that. So being able to come here and not have anybody, but doing those extra things, you know, it helps along the way.
Yeah, good question.
Travis's wife has.
Yeah, we have our website that,
Yeah.
we have
they have it
samples.
here.
Yeah.
Good. So that's good.
He has one of the shirts.
I have realtor.
Yeah.
I got a couple, but to get more. So when we look at the lead gen model, you know, we talk about referrals. Remember, your sphere of influence are the people you know. Your reputation and your professionalism are likely to give you referrals. So, you know, we want to be mindful of when we're talking to them, being their friends, we're there, we're helping them, providing them value. You want to make sure that we keep that level of professionalism there so they will help you succeed in your business. And again, just says, make sure that they know that you're a real estate agent. You know, you want to work with their friends. How can I help your friends? I'd really love to help your friends the way I helped you. Do you know anybody that's moving? Do you know anybody that's looking to purchase? So here's some conversation examples that may look familiar. I'm building my business on people I know and the people they know. Do you know of anyone from your family or friends, work, or neighborhood or group you belong to who's thinking of buying, selling a home, investing in real estate? I'd be pleased to be a resource for them. So that is a mouthful. So
Take bits and pieces.
yeah, I would take
Yeah.
it and make your own. If you hear of someone with a real estate need, will you keep me in mind? Let me know right away. So I'd love to be able to help you or help your friends like I helped you. So if you do have a past client, that's an easy way to look for a referral. Yeah. Anybody want to share what they say from the senior agents on what you say and how you ask for the business?
I
The video? What do you say in the video?
It's gonna bring it up here.
People online.
Yeah, people online won't be able.
They
to
won't be
hear it.
able to see.
just say, please remember me. And that's what I said.
Right.
In order to know it again.
Yeah.
I said my name. I'm here with Keller Williams Select Realty. We happen to say
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Anyone online want to share? They have anything?
on your own.
There you go. You did your tagline. There it is. There it is.
What do you do?
For me, so when I say, so a lot of the times when I work with when I'm looking for the business, you know, I'd be really happy, you know, sometimes they say, business is great, you know, and I'm open, I'm looking for new business. If you know anybody that's looking or wanting, I'd be happy to help them. If you think of me, I'd love to help your friends or your family. It's all about helping. It's coming from that side of things. So, you know, there's a couple different taglines in there. There's, you know, different ones of, you know, don't forget about me. You know, the best compliment is a referral thing. Yeah.
I use, like, I avoid the whole buying, selling the home or investing because the big is over, but I say, if anybody has any questions, send them to me.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And I say, if they got any questions, because it's still complicated.
Yeah.
Send them my way. I'm
Yeah.
happy to answer.
Yep. And that's a good way to do that too.
Tell them to text me. Like, it looks super low key, but I try to avoid clients. So.
Yeah. Good. I like that.
I thought them differently.
Yeah.
Here's one kind of questions.
I'd be happy to help them. Connect me. So lead generation best practices, we track our lead sources. Where are leads coming from? I talk about this a lot with my coaching. We look at what we want to do with lead gen. Is this working? Is it being effective? After we do it for a certain amount of time, are we actually getting anywhere with this lead source, right? We're collecting, we're tracking. You know, we want to audit our lead sources, right? Is this a good source of, you know, lead generation for me, the leads and the quality of leads that are coming in. So maybe you've had some decent traction with the paid leads. We've had other people say that it was terrible. They weren't able to get the paid leads. So, you know, if we're spending money on that, are we able to generate from that? You know, Matthew's going to do the big billboard. It's going to cost, you know, $1,700. You know, if he's able to get one deal, that pays for it himself. Right?
For me, the problem is not being able to get back in
Instantly. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like they're not worth it, they're 100% worth it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just cannot,
Yeah.
and you lose that good lead. So I would say for people that are newer, who have more time on their hands.
Yeah, you're either paying more money or spending more time. That's a trade-off.
And it's keeping it consistent, right? Keeping it
And with the
consistent.
automated answers that can be automated, they get them from everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
So unless it's personal, they're not going to.
Yeah.
Every single lead gen has those automated.
Yeah.
I would, if they ask me, I say, don't do it.
Yeah.
Either I respond myself.
Yeah.
They can respond.
Yeah. You can modify the verbiage too to make it be personal. You can still tell sometimes, but
with smart plans, the nice thing is they have these things called merge tags where when you build the email, I always tell everyone, you're getting started with smart plans, if you're doing a Facebook ad, even if you want, again, to do all the follow-up yourself, at least have a single email that is automated that goes to them. So if you take a day or two to get back to them, they've at least gotten a touch from you to say, thanks for clicking on my ad. I see you're interested in 123 Main Street, if that's the listing.
All agents.
Right. But then it's still on you to do that actual touch. So your smart plan would be send them an email. Well, do you have any questions? Are you interested in this house? Is there something else you're looking for? And then you get a task that day to call them, and then you make that call, but they've at least gotten that touch. So it's not like filled out the form and they're in the abyss and no one's gotten back to them. They at least know that their form has gone through. And you say in that email, like, I'll get in touch with you in the next day or so. And then you phone call, because at least, again, speed to lead, they've at least gotten that. When people get really overwhelmed about smart plans, because when you take those trainings about follow-up, it's like build a 6-month follow-up plan.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, especially when you're getting started. Just have at least a single email to go out to someone.
well, I think the stat is, I think it's like something like 20 contact. You have to contact them 20 times, even if they haven't got back to you.
Yeah.
Imagine being rejected 20 times. No one's responding, but who cares? Like, they're not calling you back. You don't know this person. What do you have to lose, right?
Well, and that's the thing with the smart plans, is because it's just happening in the background. If you do have one of those smart plans, and I have like a 30-day one that I built that's in the library for if you're advertising a listing, it will follow up over 30 days with emails and texts. And then it just puts them on like a once every 3-month follow-up plan, because people are nosy. They're going to click an ad. They're going to fill out their info to see it. And like, they're not ready to buy a house. That's not to say in a year that they won't be. So if you do continue to provide value, don't like text them 3 times a week for a year. But just stay in touch and, you know, reach out. And then you have those leads in there where you can do a personal reach out. Give them a call every once in a while. Check back in.
Yeah.
But call somebody within plus 5 or 10 minutes of them taking, I think it's very to get an appointment.
Yeah.
But if that time passes, they moved on to
Yeah,
someone else.
yeah.
Especially with the Facebook ads, because
And if you
out of sight, out of
go
mind.
and meet them the first few days.
Yeah.
then it will-
Umi's best practice is call them right away,
Really.
right away.
Then make an appointment and go and meet.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you are going to ensure. it.
Calling will always be the number one way to convert. But you might have an afternoon of appointments and you can't call them until 5 o'clock and it's noon.
That's where you lose it.
That's where that first automated
Might say,
email,
yeah.
at least.
See, they're calls them. They're not only taking on yours.
But
Right.
really, how many realtors are actually calling those leads, except for you? You think? Yeah.
How many of them actually sent them an email within, 20 minutes of their,
I think even if somebody clicks sending an hour and a half away,
I'll meet you in the middle.
Yeah.
Calls always convert best. Texts convert better than emails.
Yeah.
And so if you use the texting through
Well-
command, at least my demographic, so I'm 29,
Yeah.
I probably won't answer your phone call, but if you text me, I'll answer.
Yeah.
And so, maybe it's not an email, maybe it's a text. Say, thanks for clicking on my ad, I'm in appointments the rest of the day, but I'll give you a call the next day or so.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions in the meantime? And so then that feels more personal. Again, it fills in their name. So it's like, hi, Matthew. But they don't see it as an automated thing. It feels more personal to them.
Yeah, you just got the wrong number. That's my experience.
It depends. Something, again, that's where auditing your lead sources comes
Exactly,
in. Because
yeah.
if you do that for 3 months and you've gotten nothing from it, time to pivot, maybe change your wording,
Yeah.
use emails over texts.
And you might be good. It's just like doing door knocking versus open houses, right? Like someone might be really good at converting leads. But door knocking, someone's better at like a dog at open houses. Right, exactly. So it all depends on what it is. So the other part of this is you want to diversify your database, right? So we want to make sure that we're, being open and, and unique with cultural backgrounds, experiences, personalities, and beliefs. We want to make sure we're, expanding and making sure we're open to working with everybody. Keller has a big DEI, program as well that's here, and it's awesome. And we want everybody buys a house, everybody's got to move, just like Jess said. This prepares your business for the changing market. There's the broader and more inclusive client pool, you want to expand that. So I know one of the clients I coach with, he's part of a certain community, and he wants to expand. There's about 8 other agents within that community, so he's working that, he's in there working those leads, but he also needs to expand. So, and then being consistent and lead generate every day. So how do we do that? We need to time block our lead generation. We want to prepare. How will we ensure that lead gen is a priority? How do we do that? Besides what I'm saying, time blocking, but how do you do that? May.
Just make sure that you don't go to bed unless you've touched that many numbers. Set yourself a target and be disciplined. However you touch.
Start small. Say, I want to make 1 connection today. And when you consistently have done that for a period of time, okay, up it to 5 connections.
Mhm.
Don't go and be like, I need to talk to 20 people today, because then you're going to get burnt out in a day or 2, and then you're not going to want to do it.
You can talk to 20.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It doesn't all have to be on phone call. Even in the supermarket, you can talk.
Yep.
But when setting your expectations with yourself, you don't want to go too high and then you don't meet it. You feel like you haven't.
Yeah,
done
like
it,
there's
right?
people that are very social, right?
Mhm.
Like look at Renette, she went to Winners yesterday and she talked to someone and she gave her card, right? Like, so for other people, that might be really, really, really hard for them to do,
Yeah.
Depending on their personality and how they want to do that. But you're right, talking to the cashier, talking to the barista, your server, anything. Anywhere. But the top agents time block lead generation first, and the top agents lead generate for more than 3 hours a day. So we want to schedule your lead generation time, take action on one job before anything else. And this is, what we want to do. We want to prepare your mindsets to success, practice conversations with a partner. You want to prepare a call list in advance and contacting people, have those conversations, maintain an up-to-date database by putting notes in your conversation. I called so-and-so yesterday. Left them a message. Okay, so what is the next time that I'm going to contact that person? I texted and emailed this person. When am I going to reach out to them again? Those are the ones that you may not have on Facebook. Right? On Facebook, you might say, and you categorize it. On Facebook, I'm going to talk to XYZ and I'm going to go through all my birthday lists. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, right? We know they're all there. Facebook makes it easy for us, right? We want to go through how many Facebook contacts you want to make, how many emails you want to make, how many phone calls you want to make, how many conversations you want to have.
I give a tip about Facebook birthdays. Now when you have your birthday list and there's those automated, you just click a button and it writes it. Don't do that. I know on my birthday when I was scrolling through, I was like, every message is the same. And I
Yeah.
was like, which ones are different that someone actually like took the time and wrote something that I want to respond to? And like some people did write like, happy birthday, Jess, like hope you have a great day, like blah, 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 and like wrote something that wasn't the automated button and they just stand out so much more. So it'd take you a little bit of extra time, but write some like click the text box and write something different without the happy birthday with the 3 like auto-generated emojis that it shows, because every post looks the same when they look at it.
Yeah.
So we'll stand out more to them when
Again,
they're
not
scrolling
as
through the
meaningful,
messages.
even though you see that, it's not
Yeah.
as meaningful. Right?
Yeah.
Even though it's,
If you're gonna spend the 5 minutes to go through and click all the buttons, spend the 10 minutes, to write something, to that person.
Thank-
Unless you don't really want to, connect with them, then just click the button, but then,
I'm saying happy birthday because my mom will be mad if you
yeah.
I only use public ones.
next.
I'm also texting.
Yeah, just like the formality of wishing him birthday. Absolutely. Yeah, if you're spending the time to, send them a card or call them.
Or you could DM them, right?
You get the automatic click and then I send it request.
Yeah, that's good.
There's some time if I run out of time and she said,
Or
done something.
Yeah, something is better than nothing, but it will stand out if you write something different than the special one.
so, lead gen, as we say, lead gen is hands down, without a doubt, no competition, your number one thing that you have to do. It's going to run the business. It's going to help you succeed. Once you stop, you're going to get busy. If you don't lead gen, you're going to see those dips and valleys in your business, right? So you constantly have to time block and find it. How do we do that? 4 keys ways that you can do this. This one. So here talk about time blocking, right? So we want to time block our lead gen, right? Because a lot of agents will get busy. Like when we talk about COVID and how busy we got, we didn't have that time.
What does it mean?
It's using the analogy of a bunker.
So what it says is build a bunker. So find a place that takes you to work. So out of the path of destruction.
Maybe it's your office. Maybe it's
Distraction.
here.
No, right?
Maybe it's here in the closing room.
I'm at home. I have 2 busy boys. I have a dog. My husband goes to work, but he comes home, right? But it's busy. If I don't have a set office and I'm just sitting in my kitchen doing my work,
Have a place.
have a bunker, have a place where there's no distraction. They're like, Mom, the TV's not working. Mom, I'm hungry. Mom.
So maybe it's leaving the house. Maybe just sitting in the car.
Yeah. I've hid in my walk-in closet with my door like this, talking to a lawyer one time because my 2-year-old was banging down the door. So I didn't have a bunker then. So building that bunker where you will avoid distraction, and then having those supplies. So store your provisions. So this is kind of a Jay Papasan, The One. Have you read The One, the book? The One. He
The
talks
One
about the
thing,
bunker. Store your provisions. So have supplies, materials, snacks, beverages, whatever you
So you
need. on
don't need
hand.
to leave
So you're not coming up to go. So if you have to lock in and say, I'm going to do this and I need my,
My water bottle,
and my,
granola bars.
my sweet treats here, my candy to help me get through it,
Yeah.
and my latte. And I already had my bathroom break, right? And then sweep for mine. So it says clear out anything that you think will distract you. So here it says, shut down your email, exit your internet browser, turn off your phone. We're using those things though to lead gen typically, right?
But you can put your phone on do not disturb, so other notifications aren't coming in.
But your watch on disturb, right? There's nothing worse than sitting there and then having the phone go off and then, even talking to clients. It's one of my biggest pet peeves personally is when I'm sitting with someone or someone's sitting with another person and they're having a meaningful conversation and then they're like this, always on their phone or on their watch. So move those out of the way. Don't go on Facebook. Don't go on Instagram. If you're not doing Facebook and Instagram, just stick to the emails and set the timers. Set that lock in. I'm going to accomplish this in this hour. If you do that, remove all the distractions, make sure you have what you need. It's kind of like studying. I don't know
Well,
if you
then
know.
one southern region.
On, like, if someone calls you, you mean?
Yeah. That was all right.
And
Well,
what
I
lead
think
gen you're,
it depends on what lead gen you're on and what you're doing, right? If you're disciplined and you can say, I'm gonna leave my phone on and I'm not gonna look at it, and I'm not gonna look at the Facebook notifications that come up, or, you know, everything that's happening on the NSAR chat, you know, getting distracted by those different things.
Settings of the time. Twice a day for 10 minutes, you will get social media anyway. Otherwise, you could get sucked.
You get sucked in, yeah, and that's those that would be that non-productive things, right?
and so that might be at the end of your, you set aside an hour to
Yeah.
do this. Maybe you set aside 15 minutes at the end of that hour for follow-up. So any other notification, so if someone called you, 45 minutes later, you call them back.
Yeah.
So you're not getting distracted while you're doing it.
Yeah, and it's like if you have Candy Crush on your phone, you're going to be playing Candy Crush on your phone or eating candy or making phone calls. So what are we doing? You know, that's what we want to do.
And everyone's brain works differently. Like, this may not be strategy that you need.
But it's almost like locking in because it gets it done. You're not doing it, and it depends on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an analogy, yeah. So with this too, you could get up at 6 in the morning. You know, you're not going to make phone calls at 6 in the morning unless you know there are other people that are making phone calls. But you can send all your emails and you can schedule send.
Yeah.
So you get in there and you do 20 minutes of emails. Hey Jim, hey Joe, hey Mariah,
I do that very often.
right? And schedule send. So then they get in there and they're there, and then it's done and said the way. And then at 8 o'clock when your day starts and you're ready to do the rest of it,
You're already caught up.
you know, it's like going to the gym. How good do you feel going to the gym, getting it out of the way, and you did it for the day instead of waiting to the end of the day to do it when you might not feel like doing it?
So always do it in the morning before you get busy.
Yeah.
What is it?
I take a,
Yeah. Big breakdown.
we're switching to the next section, which is database. It's 10:44. I want to 50. Want to go to the bathroom? Get a
Yeah.
drink? Yeah, we'll take
Yeah.
5 minutes. We'll come back at
Let's go back at 11.
10:45.
Oh, sorry, at 10.
No, look, take 2 minutes. No. 10:50. Yeah.
This is very easy.
Okay, so we're gonna get into session 6, which is 5 sessions, and made this a little more condensed. So there's 2 sessions in each class. But this one's gonna be about growing your database. So when we talked about sphere of influence, obviously the place where you're gonna store a lot of that information is your database. So all the leads and contacts you have to go somewhere to be stored and organized, which is where command comes in. Some people will use other systems. But command is included for you and has a lot of nice features and what we train you on for the most part. So definitely good to utilize that. You also have to use it to, submit your paperwork and get paid. So you might as well take full advantage of it. We'll go through, how to add contacts. Oh,
I can hold that for you if you want.
oh, okay. I like having space.
Okay, sure.
Something to do with my hands. So once you have your leads and your contacts in your database, we'll go through sort of how you can leverage that, again, generate that new business, and then the repeat and referral business, because there's a lot of features in there you can use for that. So just a quote from Gary Keller. Your database is your business. Building up the number of names in it and a relationship with those names is at the core of what building a real estate business is all about. Have you ever thought about that, like how your database is your business? Without a database, you have no business because you need people to transact with. And so the number of names in your database is going to directly correlate to success you have business. Everyone heard of my 201 Club? So I'll do a little segue just for that for a second. Anyone new who's joined us recently, I have something called the 201 Club that I run here at KW. I should have put a slide in about it, but basically KW has done the math, and that's how they kind of came up with this. And then I did the math for our office. People who have more than 201 contacts in their database make a lot more money than GCI. I took all of our agents. I get a report every month of who has more than 201. I know exactly how many contacts you have. I've done the math and I matched up everyone's average GCI. I believe agents who have more than 201, I just did it a couple weeks ago. The average GCI is like 140, 150 a year. And the agents who have less than 200, it's about 70. So it's about double the amount of GCI for our agents who have more than 201 contacts. But it's not just about having names in a database. It's about, nurturing that database, making sure you have complete contact records, which we talked about earlier, and then actually following up. So with the 201 Club, I do monthly workshops that are centered around lead generation, nurturing your database, and sort of setting up systems to help you make the most of Command and your database. So when you see emails come in about the 201 Club, that's what it is. And I get a report every month. So whenever you do hit 201 contacts, I'll send you an email letting you know that you're invited, but only people who are in the 201 Club can come to those workshops, just to kind of motivate you. We talked about importing phone contacts. If you have more than 200 contacts in your phone, you can click import and you're in. So just something to think about there.
How do I update?
So you can email, I want to be part of the 201 Club. Can I please have your email and phone number?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So we talked about earlier, a database is simply the container that holds all of the contact information, and we distinguish them differently based on the permissions that we have to contact. So your leads versus your contacts. I don't know if you were here when I did leads versus contacts, but essentially the difference, well, you have a relationship with people you don't have a relationship with, but you have permission to contact. So that's what a lead is. Let's move it on there. So someone explain where your database is represented in this graph. Anyone online want to take a stab at it? Where in this sort of funnel would your database be? Stage.
2,450.
I think this is Rinat.
Hi.
So, hi. I think I would say I'm still in lead capture. That's where I am, like just making those connects, letting people know I'm in real estate. And
So that's where you are
Yeah.
with your database?
yes, so I have set up my full database to say who my sphere of influence is. So as I was discussing with Jillian the other day as well, that I have around 100 families that I've identified and all of that. So that's done. It's just that I'm making contacts with each one of them. Like first was just blasting, saying, this is what I've started new. Hope you support me in the journey, da 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 da. And then reaching out and having meaningful discussions and conversations with whoever I come in touch with. Like yesterday, I had one was at the winner, two was at chat time. Like I was just having there like my close contacts, but we were just discussing how the market might shift, what is a good time to buy, what they should be thinking about, and just encouraging them that why don't you just do a pre-approval on your second property? Like they're all thinking about a second property. It's like just do a pre-approval, just get to know what you're really worth. So at least pushing them that way. So I think that's where I am. So should I say it's a lead from relationships is where I am?
Yeah, relationship management, kind of in that middle that leads to contacts.
Right.
So right in the middle there, because obviously you're meeting people, you're getting leads, and the goal is to move them into contacts and then
Yes.
cultivate them for conversion.
Maybe
But
a
the
mix.
database,
Right. But the funniest thing is, sorry, the funniest thing is most of the contacts that I have, like I would say a chunk sits on newcomers. So they will buy at one point in time, but not ready to buy now. So a lot of cultivating on that relationship. Another very big chunk is, as Jillian was referring to, the people in the middle, like who has already bought a house, but maybe thinking of the second home. So that's also a bit of a cultivating that I need to do. And then there is that old chunk who will be downsizing in the near future. So there is very few family who I know will be buying immediately. But yes, it's all about cultivating the relationships and making sure that, yes, I come to their mind when they at least think of it.
definitely. Yeah, the database falls really big in that relationship management. So right in the middle, the leads and the contacts. Because again, that's where you're storing all of those people. And then the goal, once you have your database set up, is then to cultivate for conversion. But you need to have the database set up. purpose of your database, of course, is to keep everyone organized so you can communicate effectively and efficiently. It keeps a record of communication as well. So if you're using command to keep track, so Jill mentioned, you know, when you call them, make a note. You can do that in command. There's a notes section. If you're using the command app, for example, use that as like instead of your phone app. So instead of opening your phone contacts and clicking call, do it from command. Because when you click the call button on a contact in command, it logs the call. And your
Okay.
database is staying up to date with the activities that you're doing. And it's happening automatically. As soon as you hang up, it's like, how was your call? Do you want to make any notes? And you can just type it in. Cool. Next contact call. So it just keeps going and going.
And
Is there a way command can also capture my, let's say, Facebook messages? Like most of the reach out that I'm doing is on Facebook Messenger. There is no way, right?
Not automatically.
Okay.
You
Got
would go in and add them as a contact, and then you could put notes or log
Got it.
activities.
Will you be doing command?
In this session, generally, I do command training every week. I just didn't do it yesterday because I was doing this.
Your Tech Thursday.
Remember every Thursday at 10?
Tech Thursday.
I'm gonna be experimenting with some different times and spreading it out. This might not be called Tech Thursday.
Give a schedule.
You did though for my 201 club. You came for it. Yes, you did.
Once in a while.
You are for this too, Rick.
The well-organized database also helps you automate other tasks. So that's where smart plans come in. If you have your database, you know, organized with tags and things like that, it's much easier to automate for communication to go out. If you're filling in birthdays, you can automate birthday texts. If you're filling in home anniversaries, you can automate tasks. So that automation is really going to help you, especially as new agents starting out. Set this up now. So in a year when you're busy, you don't have to think about it and it's just working and giving you tasks and telling you what to do, and you don't need to go back and set. Or from a lot of agents that are now, you know, have been in the business for many, many years, who are now getting into command and setting it up, and they're like, I wish I would have done this from the beginning. They have a spreadsheet of 5,000 contacts they now need to go through and organize.
It's hard to keep.
But when you do it from the beginning and you have those systems set up, it's much easier to stick with it. I spoke on this a bit earlier. Didn't know if it was going to come up or not, but a well-maintained database holds value and can be sold if you choose to retire or close the business. If you choose to leave real estate, if you choose to retire, if your database is well-maintained, it's, you know, categorized, it's comprehensive notes about your transactions, about your interactions with them, that adds value. People will pay for that. We talked about people buying leads. That's buying leads. They're just buying them from you, and they're, you know, more qualified because.
And if they're
they have a
retiring,
relationship.
they're in a very established business with repeat clientele. Like you're basically buying a bank.
So talked about Command. So Command is your integrated end-to-end platform for running and growing your business. It's your database. It is a goal tracker. You can put in your goals of, you know, what CI you want to hit this year, and it will break it down, how many leads you need to get, how many appointments, how many deals, and then how many closing to achieve that. And as you're doing things in Command, it gives you progress. If you're lead generating in Command and you've gotten 100 leads, it's going to show you your progress towards your goal. Okay. Task Manager, if you have automated tasks set up, you can do that through Smart Plans. Your opportunities, which are your transactions, can create tasks for you. So you can have checklists for every deal that you do. All of a sudden you have a task that you need to book the photographer because you have a listing going live in a couple days. You have a task that you need to do your Form 408. You get all these different tasks. So it's telling you what you need to do and you don't need to think. Okay. It's a marketing suite. So you do have newsletters, postcards, mailers, presentations, and social media posts. That's in the designs section. It is great for people starting out. If you haven't created your own brand, if you just want to, you know, go under the Keller Williams brand, which is absolutely fine. I don't love it for doing custom things. If you're looking to brand yourself and have your own templates and your own branding, I highly recommend Canva. It's worth the $16.99 a month. I use it. But Designs is great for out of the box things where, you know, you need to just list a graphic, you put your face on there, you put in the property information, and it pulls it in. It's even connected to MLS. So you type in the MLS number of a listing and it pull the photos and details. So it's really great when you're getting started. And then it's a referral network as well. So there is the referrals applet. It's this little like location pin looking one. And that's where you can search for other KW agents anywhere in the world. So if you, let's say you're using your KW app, you have a client that reaches out and says, I want to buy a vacation home in Florida. You can go onto that referrals applet, zoom in on the neighborhood, and you get to see all the agents that have transacted in that area, what their production is, how many deals they've done in that area. And then you can start building, you can invite them to your referral network. So that's great if you do have people moving to different areas often. It's good to have referral partners in specific areas like that, because again, that's another source of income for you.
And when you attend KW events, like at Family Reunion, a lot of the Florida agents were very interested in us because we do a lot of.
There's a lot of the reverse happening right now, people wanting to buy here. So that's the little location pin there in Command. A couple of, it's the 1, 2, 3, 5th one down, referrals.
Looks like a person.
Oh, you don't see my cursor. The 5th one down, hopefully a Google Maps pin.
Above the shaking hand.
Yeah, right above opportunities. We'll talk about a couple of resources for Command before I move on. We do have our YouTube channel where you can find training on Command. Type in Keller Williams Select Realty Training on YouTube and our channel is there. The one that I will plug in is answers.kw.com. This is like the Google of KW. There are step-by-step guides for literally everything. I'll put it in the chat as well. Answers.kw.com. And there's step-by-step guides for really everything you could want to do in Command. On YouTube as well, if you search the name Marty Miller, he does a 66-day Command challenge. He has one currently going on right now. I think it's like day 36 or day 37. But every day it's like a 5-minute video and it's just a bite-sized piece of Command and they all kind of go in an order that makes sense. They're on version 9 right now. So he updates it every year. So it's awesome. Up to date. Definitely take a look at that. I'll write the name in here as well. That's Marty Miller. Used to be the regional technology trainer for South Texas.
Okay.
He was my MAPS coach when I was in coaching before I went on mat leave. He's a wealth of knowledge and he's a very good trainer, very clear, and makes it bite-sized. So if you're looking for something that's not been done in this challenge yet, just go back to version 8. They're all in playlists. I can mention a couple of those resources. Okay.
The 4 laws of the database, we build a database, we feed it every day, communicate in a systematic way, and service all the leads come your way. So just
we're going to go through each one.
Yeah, we'll go through all 4 laws.
So the first names to put in your database again are your sphere of influence. Have you on sphere of influence in this session? People that you thought about when Jill was going through. Your family, friends, coworkers, people you encounter regularly, etc. Again, there's a basic amount of contact information and name. Contact information would be phone and email. Past business records. So that I would say would be more like your lead source. So that is tracking, where did this person come from? Let me see. I won't share my screen yet. In Command, when you're entering a contact, you can choose the lead source. Previously, it was literally just a list. So it'd be like Facebook or sphere of influence is one, referral is one. But now you can actually choose another contact. You can say, I could go in and say, well, Jill introduced me to this person. And so it's linked to Jill's contact. So now every time I look at that contact, I'm reminded, oh, Jill referred that person to me. And that's really nice because, again, that builds on referral side of things. If there's one person who's referring you business over and over and over, you want to reward that person. Make sure you're staying in touch with them. Maybe, send them a gift once a year. And maybe every time close someone that referred to you, you send them a gift card or something like that. Just something to make them feel like you really appreciate.
If there's someone that's consistently referring you business, and this will probably be you're on down in the chorus, but if there's potentially and sending you multiple deals, even if they haven't sold themselves, you want to put them on your A list. So you're going to pay attention to them a lot more. You're going to take them for dinner. You're going to invite them for dinner. You're going to drop off gifts. You might do Popeyes. You might buy them a pumpkin at Halloween. You're going to give them wine at Christmas. Those are just different types of ideas, but those are the ones you want to nurture and stay in touch with because they are your biggest cheerleaders. So, yeah.
I'm going to deal the screen share. We're going to talk about building your database. So you have a few different ways you can add contacts to your database. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at that in Command. So I think it's easier to just show you. And over there. Okay, let me clear all the filters. This is the contacts section of Command. It's the second icon down on the left-hand side. So you have multiple ways that you can add contacts. You have this add contact button, how you manually add a single contact. Maybe, you're going through your birthdays on Facebook and you come across someone that you want to have in your database. You would just pop over to Command and click add. Okay. You can import contacts as well. So I did mention earlier, any system where you can export a spreadsheet, you can then import it into Command. I just click import and upload that spreadsheet. Will let you match up all the headers. So your database might say name and Command says full name. You would just say name equals full name. So it lets you match it up so you don't have to use a specific format. And then you can do it from your phone as well. So in the Command app at the top of the contacts, there's a button and you can click import contacts. We're just going to open up a contact record just so you can see the different information that you would put in on a contact. So full name is the only required field. All you need to put in there. But hopefully you have more than that. Hopefully you have at least an email or a phone number or an address. Ideally email or phone number to start, a way to contact. If you don't have a way to contact them, not much use putting them in there unless you're going to do the work and collect that information. So I'll do else, for example. Okay. Email. Number, as soon as you type in a Canadian number, it will change the Canadian flag. So don't bother changing it. It will do it automatically. Now we have lead source. So like I mentioned, you can keep track of where your leads are coming from. Highly recommend this, especially if you're manually entering people because it's not going to do that automatically. If you do a Facebook ad, it will automatically show that they came from a Facebook ad. If they sign up on your app, it will show that automatically. But if they're just being manually put in here, you can choose a lead source. And so it might be referrals or KW agent referral. It might be, type in Facebook, there's Facebook group. Maybe it's someone that you met in community Facebook group. It's really good to keep track of where people are coming from because then you can then audit your lead sources. If you're doing a lot of work in one specific type of lead generation, you can then come in and filter your database by that lead source and see how many leads you've gotten. Are any of them transacted? Are they actually working? And if it's not, then you pivot. But in order to get that information and really see it visually, you need to be keeping track. We also have select from contacts. So that example I gave where maybe Jill referred someone to me, I come in and put her name in. That won't come up. So maybe Donald Duck referred this person to me. So I can do that. And then I can filter my database by, referral source is Donald Duck. I can see how many contacts I put in. This person has referred to me. And just being able to keep track of those things is really nice. You can mark as lead. That puts this little L, the blue L you're seeing beside these contacts. That just lets you visually keep track of who's a lead and who's a contact. We talked about that earlier. Our goal is to convert your leads to contacts. So the goal is to then edit this contact, come in and uncheck lead because they're now a contact. You now have a relationship. But it's just a visual reminder. And any automatic lead gen you do in Command will automatically be tagged that way. It'll have the little L. Then you have tags. So we are going to talk about tags a little bit more later on when we talk about segmenting your database. But this is a way you can sort of group people together especially when you're thinking about sphere of influence activity with the different types of people, maybe you have a tag for service provider. Maybe you have a tag for each service plumber, painter, if you have multiple. If you don't have a tag for that, you can click create as new, just the color, and click create tag. And now that's just, you now have a tag where you can filter your database, quickly see a list of everyone who fits that criteria. Some tags you may think of creating just when you're getting started with your database would be, take that out, missing email, missing phone number, missing birthday.
Okay.
Because then that's something that, you know, maybe you don't have anything to do today, you have a slow day, I'm gonna try and update my database. I'm gonna filter by my missing birthday tag, and I'm gonna go through Facebook, I'm gonna search their name, and I'm gonna fill in their birthday. If that's something that you can do all the time, anytime you have downtime, same with missing email, missing phone number, but it just makes it easy, you know, when you're creating this contact, if you put that tag on it, now you know that's still something outstanding. Only way to really see that without going into each contact. Under additional contact information, you have, you know, more emails, more phone numbers. This is where address is. So this is where you'll want to fill in their address if you have it. Again, really easy on closing day to make that part of your habits. You know, on closing day, go in, fill in the address. Make sure it's checked as same as mailing address. That will allow you to do the mailing labels that I mentioned earlier. Under about, there's legal name, description, but this is where you'll find birthday and home anniversary. Then you'll want to keep track of home anniversary on closing day, fill that in. Birthday, you can fill in there. It doesn't let you put the year, so just month and day. Company name is here as well if you want to keep track of that. Maybe you work with specific people from, maybe it's somewhere you work for and you want to keep track of that, how many people are coming from there. Again, you don't need, all of this is optional. You'll use what works for you. Then you have custom. So I have a bunch of custom fields. You won't have anything under here if you haven't created it. But you can create your own custom fields. I made one for anniversary dates. That would be like their actual like wedding anniversary. Keep track of it. Kids' names, pets' names.
When their anniversary comes up, is there a certain setting you can put in there to remind you ahead of time that that's?
You can for a home anniversary.
Mhm.
So that, because that's one that directly like you will to send something.
Yeah.
Believe for this, you can just filter in the filter section by like date within the next 30 days. So maybe it's a monthly thing you tell yourself to do and go in and filter it. But when you add a custom field, there's many different types of fields you can create. Let's do this. When you create a new field, there's, you know, text area. If you need like a paragraph, maybe it's specific notes that you take. Drop down menu, date, checkbox, number, URL, and percentage. Those are all the different types. So let your brain go and think of the things you'd want to keep track of, or systems you want to put in place, and you can do that through the custom fields. Any questions about adding contacts? Any of the fields or anything online? Need a demo there. Oh, all right. So I'm gonna switch back. Just share. I should have just stayed on there. I'm gonna share the slides from here.
Done everything.
I got one with you. Okay.
You have to do that from the computer. Delete your whole archive. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's you.
Okay, so, you know, what does feed your database mean? Obviously, we've been hammering this home. Adding people to your database, just as we discussed, you know, adding all the people you know, your sphere of influence, all the people you encounter regularly, add your dentist. So for example, I just got a phone call this morning from my youngest school. He smashed, ultimate frisbee, smashed faces with someone else and now has a broken tooth. And because I've gone ahead and put my dentist in my actually contact info, and me and my husband has his contact info and was able to reach out to him directly. He's a dentist. He doesn't work on Fridays because I'm not sure what dentists do, but he's actually golfing in Europe right now. So that did work. But you know, just even having that kind of connection there is an example of, you know,
It adds more value than just
a lot of value, right? So you know, but the rest of your feed comes from what? Lead generating. So, you know, we learn the difference between prospecting and marketing, and we explore different ways to prospect in every day of life through your sphere. Prospecting is actively seeking leads, building relationships through your conversations. Prospecting is a cost-effective way you are able to directly hear if and when the person is able and willing to do business. Marketing is a passive. So a lot of people will talk about, and that are in my coaching program, we talk about passive and you know, proactive, passive, and reactive type of lead gen. So marketing is a passive pathway to feeding your database. We're doing social media, you know, printed media, billboards, online, Facebook, all those kind of things. We're waiting for those leads to come to you. You're not actively out looking for them. So the next one. I don't think it's working.
oh, that's me.
Okay, here we go. Building your database can be accomplished economically by asking everyone you know who they know and who might benefit from your services in an immediate real estate need. You know, we learned earlier that the top agents run highly productive businesses, you know, based solely on their sphere, and you will get there. The goal is to fill the bucket, fill it, and then you actively have everybody in there, and then that's what you're going to do. You're going to nurture them so you have that database, and you want to keep it in there. You want to keep them in there. You don't want them going anyone else's bucket. You know, repeat referral is always best. New business comes when someone in your sphere begins to talk about buying and selling, and they think of you. You know, they're going to think of you when you post on your social media because you're friends with them, and they're going to say, oh, that's a beautiful house that Chris just put up. You know, he's a real estate agent, as she's having coffee waiting for her friend to come to the table. Repeat business comes from clients you've helped in the past and who are pleased with the service and experience you provided. So a lot of the times there's this misconception that a lot of agents don't want to reach out after the fact, after the closing, in fear of them maybe not liking the house or something happened, or maybe they're just scared. You've just invested so much time in the biggest purchase of their life. You know where their kids are going to sleep. You know where the dog's room is. You know a lot of detail of what they're planning to do in this home, you know, or even selling. You know, don't be afraid to reach out and say, hey, how's it going? Just check in and see everything in. Putting in those tags to say follow up. You know, I'm going to follow up a week after closing, then I'm going to follow up a month after closing. You know, repeat those. Then you want to invite them to your events. You want to invite them to, you know, meeting.
And if there is something wrong with the house, you're the person that can fix it for them.
Yeah.
So whether it's, you know, referring a painter, maybe paint job wasn't as good as it looked when they it. Maybe there's plumbing issues, maybe there's whatever issues. You can now be the hero to step in after the fact and, you know, help them out.
Yeah. Because they may grovel and be like, my real estate agent didn't pick this up, but you come in and sweep in and help them. See you. Yeah. That's a big help. So.
Yeah. And it shows you care more than, you know, hey, I got your commission check. See ya.
Yeah. Because that's what
you're not being paid ananymore, but you're still taking the time to help them.
It's even more important. So you might ask who you might who might your sphere refer to you? So neighbors, children, relatives, friends, coworkers. If you're in military, that's a big one. Military is always looking for a good referral. And then how do you ensure that your sphere will refer you? By asking for the referral, explaining how to give you a referral, sharing how important this information is for you, and by thanking them with your words and even a gift for referral. If someone gives you a referral, you give them a gift. You give them a thank you, send them, even if it doesn't come to fruition, even if it doesn't happen, give them, because they're going to continue to do that.
Even a Starbucks card or something, just
anything.
To make them feel.
That's another thing you can copy and command. Hey, they really like Starbucks. Hey, they really like this restaurant downtown. You know, they really like to golf. So putting that in there and then tailoring your referral gifts to them is huge.
Yeah. They have dogs. Maybe it's a PetSmart gift card. Maybe it, you know, you get really more specific when you have that information.
Yeah. You know, and then the other ways, you know, we want to encourage people to write, I'll get you this. Yeah. A testimonial. So these are huge. What's the importance of testimonials? Google review, right? Does anybody know examples of a good testimonial form? Google review?
I really, most people just go loud, at least.
I highly recommend leaning on Google. If you don't have a Google My Business set up, do it now. Do it yesterday, because when someone searches for a realtor in their area, if you're set up as a Google profile, like it shows up, it's SEO, which is search engine optimization. It's really hard, and you may never get your website to the top of when someone searches for real estate, but you're much more likely to get seen if you have your Google business listing there, because it shows like in the suggested businesses.
Or if someone hears of you, then they're going to Google you.
They'll Google you and your name will come up. Highly recommend doing Google ones, because the way Google reviews work is someone has to have a Google account in order to leave the review. So it's a verified review. On the other side of it, you can't hide them. So don't send your review link to people that, that didn't go well. Just saying. But you cannot edit them or change them in any way. Your KW website also has a link to like leave a review, and then you can display those reviews on your website. I wouldn't use that as your review capture, only because you can't find them anywhere else. So if they're on your website, you can't push them to Google. If they're on Google, you can push them to your website. So Google should always be your go-to. Again, people, even you can do Facebook reviews, but if someone's interested in you, they're gonna Google you. Might search you on Facebook, but the first thing they're going to do is Google you. So make sure you have Google reviews set up for your business. And then, if you want to be able to display those on your website, just reach out to me and I can share with you how to do that. Always Google first. Okay. There's other sites like Rate My Agent and all of those, but again, Google should be your main one.
Yeah.
All others are secondary.
Yeah.
So.
So yeah, anytime you're working with anybody, you want to encourage them, say, hey, you can even send them as a follow-up in your SMART plan. Hey, it was so nice to work with you. I would appreciate, I would be so happy and thrilled if you would leave me a review. And then you give them the Google link from there.
There's even SMART plans in the library. If you search Google review, ones where agents have already written that message for you and they've shared it because it works, and you can just personalize it to yourself and use it.
Yeah, and these leads will be a lot warmer than the ones that you're getting online on, Facebook or Instagram, any of those, because these guys are actually seeking you.
And send it before closing day. Once you close, they're busy, they're moving. Do it, once you've firmed and that whole experience has been great, send them the review. And then if they haven't reviewed you yet, obviously send it again later on, maybe like couple weeks after closing, just to give them some time. So you're not like, hey, review me, and they're like, my life is in boxes right now. Always try and get it before closing, because that's when they're excited, they're happy, like found them the house. That's when they're going to leave their best review for you.
So I know I'll get you to sorry. That's okay. So I know that we talked about with Chad, what was our value proposition? Think about what your value proposition is to, the people that you want to work with, and you want to be able to provide a few examples, to help start, kick off, like we want to see what we want to do here. So like, what are the areas of business or customer service you could ask someone to provide a testimonial or a review on? So, there could be different categories. So here it says responsiveness, attention to detail, professionalism, empathy, clear communication, could be negotiating, could be, really listen to my needs. A lot of the times I really listen to my needs, their knowledge, what was their knowledge like? Oh, does anybody here think that they have anyone that they could reach out to this minute that would be able to provide a testimonial? You, even if you are just new to business, you haven't worked with anybody, maybe you're actively working with someone, or you have a past coworker that you've worked with before that can actually, speak to your great qualities.
Job reference.
Yeah, job reference. Like it doesn't it can be very tailored, so it doesn't sound like they didn't work with you, but it could be very, very helpful. Laws, I think this is me, right?
That's me. All right, so Law 3 is communicate systematically. So this is segmenting your database based on interest, passion, etc. So this is where that categorizing your database comes in. If you know, set up your sphere so you have it separated by friends and family, service providers, other agents, that's great. And you want to use that to then create tags in Command and segment your database. Kind of the goal, so that you have a way to communicate systematically. Reason tags help you communicate systematically is because you can filter by a tag. You have a list of everyone with that tag. Say it's your buyers. And you can select all, add to Smart Plan. Maybe it's a buyer follow-up plan. Service providers. Maybe it's a check-in to see like if there's any way you can help their business, or they, you know, whatever it is. The ability to communicate systematically, which means just not sending a mass text to everyone in your database with something generic, is based on how you've set up your database and segmented. So based on the list of people in your sphere, how could you separate them? And thinking further than just friends and family. Maybe they like golf, or they have dogs. Maybe they've referred people to you. You want to think of all those ways that you could break down your database and segment them so that, you know, maybe there is, do you want to invite them to our KW Select Golf tournament? You have a tag on everyone who likes golf. Very easy to filter by that tag and then send the invite. Maybe you have a list of service providers that are also tagged with golf. You send them the sponsor link, right? So different, you can think of things in many different ways. Military, if you have all, I highly recommend that if you have anyone military, to tag them that way, because if you're registered with Brookfield, you can work with them. If you're not registered with Brookfield, you can refer them to someone who is registered with Brookfield Relocation and get a referral fee. So all of those different ways, whether it's for transactions or just for reaching out, you want to have them segmented as specifically as you can. Some additional things you'll want to do and create tags for would be like client or past client. People get even more specific, and it's 2024 buyer, 2024 seller, so that you're keeping track of the year. You can, and you don't need to have a tag that is like 2024 seller dash golf dash military. Like, you can add as many tags as you want. So just create a tag for sort of each group, and people can be a member of each, like more than one group. Yeah, you just want to think of the different ways you'd want to reach out to people and what information you would need to do that. So it talks about communicating with your segments. So same thing, we have golf here. Review of golf courses per neighborhood in the area relevant to the geographic location of the people in the segment. So maybe you have people that have a Dartmouth tag. Maybe you have a tag for every area of the city that you work in. You can keep track of who lives in those areas and who likes golf. So if there is a golf tournament at Wood, you could send them the link. So just thinking of it that way and how you can provide value.
I have a question
Yeah.
about this. So when you, so it says talk about newsletter here and you're sending stuff out from your Smart Plan. Do you, did Command provide a open, like if you can see if they open the email or?
You can.
Right.
Yep. So in the report section of Command, just go over
I'm gonna
here.
kind of sidebar here. So
Yeah.
you guys, you send out market stats to your database and all of a sudden you see, you know, this person who you haven't talked to in a year or 8 months, or even 5 years says, opens that up, and the click rate opened it up 10 times since you sent it 2 days ago. What is your next step?
Call them.
Right? Yeah, call them, follow up. Hey, hope you're doing good. Because if they're opening up 10 times, there's obviously something in there that's perking their interest. It's an easy way to identify within those dormant leads who's there. So there's another alley to.
Yeah. So when you go to the reports applet, which is fourth from the bottom here, you have an emails tab. If you're anyone who's sending emails through Command, whether it's Smart Plans, whether it's email campaigns, you can go and you can see by month how many of your emails were delivered, how many were undelivered. Pay attention to this, because if their emails typed in wrong, this will tell you because it did not get delivered. I could click that and I can see that my email to Sherry didn't go through. So maybe I've typed in her email wrong. You can see who has opened your emails and you can see who's clicked them. So that means if you sent an email with, a link to a listing, for example, if they clicked that link to the listing, this is what's going to tell you that. Okay? And you can see how many actually replied and who unsubscribed. Okay. And it will tell you, like when you click view details, it tells you in the subject which email it was. So if you go to unsubscribed and all the people in unsubscribe were from one particular email, maybe look at that email and see what triggered that. So this just gives you more information about like the way you're communicating and what's hitting and what's not. But also, what's going through and what isn't.
Another way too, I mean, it does suck to get that unsubscribed email, but I mean, I've had clients where they've unsubscribed, but they're still actively, it's not because they don't like me. They just really don't like newsletters.
Yeah.
They hate newsletters.
Yeah.
But they still want to be on the email list to come to my party that I'm having next year because they love parties.
Yeah.
They don't like newsletters. So it's a good way to it's uncomfortable to call them and
Be
say,
curious about it.
yeah,
See why.
notice you unsubscribed, you're not sure. I'd really love to keep you in the loop. Is it okay if I still keep you on my list for inviting you here?
And maybe you have their work email and they don't want those. And they're like, no, here's my personal.
Yeah.
Feel free to send anything to this one.
Yeah.
Always come from curiosity that way. Don't just assume that they unsubscribe, they hate me, I'm never talking to them again. Because sometimes it's not that deep. And it might just be, again, they don't want emails. Maybe it's that type of email. And so you could make a tag, no newsletters, and now you can resubscribe them, but just don't send them newsletters. Yeah, go back to the slide.
Okay, so we'll be diving deeper into this in upcoming sessions. The 19 to connect and 36 to convert. But we're going to kind of brainstorm items of value. So when you do communicate, regardless of the message, segments or touch, which I don't like that word, you always pair that with communication with value. So, want to refer participants, we're going to refer some items of value. What are we going to do? What are items of value? How do we get in contact?
Provide value at the same time.
So you touches thing is here. What you do, what you for, what you do people with
Yeah, so for newsletter, that side of things, you want to provide like almost seasonal value and like of the moment sort of thing. So maybe it's my recent listings, and then it's spring cleaning checklist, things like that.
Yeah. What are those?
a home in their neighborhood that is similar, so their home up and you would touch.
Yeah. What would be a really good, 2 good items of value? Like some people like, okay, spring, like there's certain items we can give. What are the 2 that maybe we're actually going to get something out of? We're going to actually get a response from. We're actually going to get an open rate.
I think when their home goes up.
Yeah.
Or when it's time to refinance.
Yeah. Yeah. When we're doing, market sets, everybody wants to know, especially, since COVID and things have skyrocketed, I'm reaching out to those people that purchased then. Here's a home equity report.
Yeah. I bought
love home equity reports.
I bought my house in August of 2020, so I'm renewing my mortgage this year. And I bought my house, I don't care about saying it. I bought my house in Woodbine for $89,000.
Wow.
I haven't seen one go for under 2 in forever.
Oh, wow.
Right? Well, obviously I see a lot more than like the average person if they're not.
Like, how excited are you to get that report to say, hey, Jess, look at how much you're.
Yeah, I did the little quick CMA while Shayna was here, and it was like 230. I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
It's too bad. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, anyone who bought in that, like we're in that sort of magic time where it's renewal time for anyone who bought during COVID. And like my interest rate's 1.9, I think. So like it's that
you got a lot of
rates have just kind of come down a little bit to
so those things there people love, they want to click on it. Other things is invitations to events, invitations to, certain things, something that's actually interactive, that's of item of value of them. So, we don't want to be constantly doing high items of value because we can't afford it. You know, but you want to have a balance in there because you don't want to just be like, oh, this is Jillian sending her, you know, newsletter again, same thing.
If you do any KW training, you'll hear the term MOFR a lot, which is make offer for immediate response.
Yeah.
So you want to offer an item of value that requires them to respond.
Yeah.
Because that's sort of the magic of where you're going to get people. It may not be yes, but yeah, every no is one.
Yeah.
No closer to a yes.
Someone else saying. Okay, next up.
That's me. So now do you see sort of the value of tagging and segmenting and making sure turning your database into a smart database? Makes sense?
Working for you, that's the thing. right?
Exactly.
So if we didn't have this, it would be a lot of work.
And that's the key from turning your database into a data bank, aka an income source, is making sure it's smart, making sure contact records are complete. If they're not, you have a system to find who's not complete to work on that. So that would be through those tags, missing email, missing birthday, missing phone number, and then actually working on it and filling in that info. If you've spent a ton of time lead generating and putting people into your database, and then you don't communicate with them, what was it all for? You've just wasted your time because, you know, now you have a list of names that have probably found another realtor because you haven't stayed in touch.
Yeah.
So that's the most important thing. And the most important communication you can make, again, is the personal call. Make sure you have a phone number. And in the Smart Plan library that Keller Williams created, there's one called the Quarterly Call Plan. It is a task 4 times a year that just says, call Joe Smith. It's just a reminder to stay in touch. Okay? The minimum is enough. You're making 4 touches a year. It will add to that 19.
1936. Yeah.
It gives you 4 of those touches to get started. And then you add their birthday. Then you add it anniversary. You add all those other things, and those things sort of happen organically, and it's a lot less overwhelming.
And it's easy. There's easy ways. Like one thing can get 5 separate. You know, if you're putting on an event, you're going to send the invitation. You're going to send up a follow-up reminder invitation. Then you're going to say, thank you for registering. Then you're going to follow up and say, hey, I'm so excited for you to come to my event. I can't wait to see you. Then you're going to see them at the event, your event. Then after the event, you're going to send them a, hey, thanks for coming. Here's a picture that you took with, you know, in the park. You know, at
Easter
the event.
pass, but maybe it's like Easter phone. Maybe you have someone in a bunny costume. And
so right there,
set it
you
up.
get 6 touches. If we look at the 13, you'll get deeper into this. That's 6 touches there just out of one event. So we're coming down the pipeline here. We're almost at the end, which looks like we're going to be on time.
Yeah.
4 laws. So the 4th law is service all leads. Why is it important to service all of our leads? It's really important to service all our leads. You know, we really want to make sure that no matter what the lead is, we want to be servicing it. We don't want them to leave bucket to go to someone else's bucket. So we want to know the source, know how the lead was generated. Will it be important for calculating your return on investment for your prospecting and marketing methods? You want to track the relationship, use a database to track conversions, interactions, relations to the transaction and relationship that helps ensure the customers are serviced and converted into clients. And then reward referrals. We talked about this again. We want to we're rewarding anybody that sends you a referral, reward them. Take them for a coffee, take them for lunch, give them a gift card. If they like flowers, give them flowers.
Yeah. Command makes this really easy for you to service all of your leads. And I have a graphic, but I don't have it here. Basically, anyone you meet ever should go into your database. And then you have 2 paths that you can put them down. Are they now business or later business? Now business would be, are they going to transact in the next year? Or later business, if it's, you know, nowhere in sight. For now business, to be creating an opportunity, even if they're going to buy in a year. A lot of our training you'll see on like submitting paperwork, we're doing it sort of as you have a deal to submit, you create the opportunity, trying to reframe the thinking. Because you want to use the opportunities, and you'll see here, these are your opportunity pipelines. You keep track of the people that you're cultivating. You don't have an appointment with them yet. They're not ready to buy a house or sell their house, but they've expressed an interest in working with you. And so that's now business. And if it's a year out. Okay. So if that's the case, create an opportunity for them. If it's later business, put them on a smart plan. Maybe it's just the quarterly call.
Doesn't need to be, I need to call you every week if there's
Yeah,
gonna be.
it's just like every 3 months, check in. How's it going? You want me to check what, what you could get for your house now? The market's changed, everything's changing so fast, interest rates have changed, whatever it is. It's your value piece. Checking in regularly, not too regularly, and doing that if it's later business.
If they're doing renovations, it could be, how's the house coming? Do you need the painter to come in? Okay, we're gonna schedule him for, 3 months in advance. If you do staging, okay, well, the stager comes in, she's gonna wanna do her, or he wants to do her, consultation 2 months in advance. Are you gonna be ready for that? What can I do? How can I service you?
Facebook's really great for that too. People love to post their renovations and like in progress photos and, before and afters. And so you're seeing that people have done work to their house. Reach out to them. Like, I saw you've done a ton of work. It looks beautiful. Like, I bet you've just increased your value by so much. Do you want me to check for you? Okay. Always adding value. But yeah, this is a screenshot of your opportunity pipeline. So the goal is, if anyone's going to be transacting in the future with you, to create an opportunity, put it into Cultivate. And you've just saved yourself a step when they're like, hey, I saw a house come up. I really want to go see it tomorrow. Now, you sign the documents per compliance. I don't know any of that, so I'm not going to tell you what you need to sign. But you sign the proper documents, you take them, you show the house, and they're ready to buy. Sometimes it happens really fast and it's a whirlwind. And now your opportunity is already created. You just go and upload your documents. You don't need to go through the process of creating it, adding it to your pipeline. Yeah, it's already done. And again, if you do multiple houses, it's all within the same. Anyways, that's a whole different training. But that's where the opportunities come in. You have your pipeline for both listings and buyers. And you can see there's a little number under Cultivate. So when you're sitting here and, you have nothing to do, you have 2 in Cultivate, maybe I should go check in on those people, follow up, give them a call. Maybe you end up getting an appointment with them. Like, oh yeah, we've actually been thinking about selling. Do you want to come take a look? Sometimes you need to give them that little push. So this is just your visual reminder that you have people there that can possibly turn into business. Okay. So shifting your thinking around opportunities is big too, especially for any agents who've been here for a little bit and taken my training. It used to be, create opportunities because you have to submit paperwork. Yes. Now it's use this at a deeper level. And within the opportunities, within each of these phases, you can customize stages. So maybe when you have an appointment for a listing, you might have, appointment, then you might have staging, then you might have activate. So you can add checklists for all these different stages. That's totally different training. But then you get deeper into creating these systems to automate tasks, to, send reminders to you, things like that, that's going to make your life a lot easier. So
the good news is, if you have questions, Jess is your girl.
Yeah.
Right? Excellent. Yeah. So we're at the end of our session here, but basically trust your database. Don't get discouraged. It takes time. It really takes time to build your business. Some people get lucky and they have a really good first year. They get in there, they get out there, they have a lot of people around them. They may have been a previous business where, it's very translatable and they're able to get up and off their feet right away. But you don't want to quit. You don't want to get discouraged. It takes sometimes 2 to 3 years to see a significant return and an uptick. It can take over a year contacting people using the 36 touch campaign to see consistent results. But the key is consistency. The consistent you are, then the consistent your business will be. Mm-hmm. If you are not consistent, then your business will not be consistent. And then that's when you see the big peaks and valleys in your income and in your business, where it's, a lot of agents are like, oh, I don't have anything. And they're, struggling. They're like, oh no, I don't have anything. I don't have any sales. I don't have any clients. I really need to pick up my socks. And then they pick up their socks. They get too busy. And they forget to lead gen, and they forget to do everything else. Yeah. And they're like, ooh, I'm, as Sherry would say, I'm the king of the world. Yeah. And then we kind of drop down again. So we want to make sure that we keep that consistency. And if we get off, track, try and get back on there. Mm-hmm. It's really helpful with what Jess is offering here. Command is a really easy way. Once it's set up, you have to put some time into it. Once it's set up,
it just runs itself in the background.
It's but think mindset of long term, right? So, and come from a place of care. The real estate business is a relationship business. You know, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So you want to be that person.
I also do one-on-one training in addition to my weekly training. So if, you know, you want to sit down and kind of talk about fix up your database, or you want to look at smart plans or the website or the app, send me an email. We can set up a time to meet and sit down and kind of figure out how to tailor it to you. Yeah, I'm happy to do that for anyone.
Awesome. Well, that's it for today, guys. Have a good weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions online before we
Yeah.
hop off?
No, thank you though.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Can I give a tidbit to people online, especially newer agents?
Yeah.
Sure.
Not that I'm not a new agent. Some we put a lot of focus on SOI, on your sphere, and we've had this conversation before. Sometimes you will have a sphere that will not give you anything. Sometimes, but and I have a sphere hasn't given me anything in a while. Most of my deals have come from nowhere. Don't stop feeding it. Just because you don't see it, even me after a year, will stop growing that SOI. Don't stop growing your sphere. It'll feel like why are my friends giving me anything? Well, eventually they will. So don't
Yeah.
get discouraged if you
Just
see that.
continue trying to be the expert, provide value.
Yeah.
Some people get like, oh, like he's brand new, like I don't want to, I'll go with someone who's been in business longer, but then it's all about providing value, building trust, building relationships, and then it won't matter how long you've been in because they trust you.
Absolutely. Good.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. That's good. Yeah. Bye, guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye.